So happy New Year, guys and girls. Thank you for joining us for what we hope will be a better year. Sorry, I couldn't keep that a straight face with that one. A better year. It couldn't be a worse year than last year. But
well, I do have my hopes. I do have my hopes because we did get quite a lot of interesting and thoroughly entertaining shows, films toward the end of 2021.
Yes. There was a couple of downright pieces of junk as well. So, although there was some good things in 2021, there was some amount of junk in 2021.
Yeah, that's a good word. That's a different word that I was thinking, but I like that word. That's good. That's a safer word.
Yes, it's a safe 4-letter word. But yeah.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I see some lovely friendly faces there in the chat.
Yep.
Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year, yes.
Yeah,
thank
Grand
you.
Moff Miranda.
Yeah, and Archer's there as well.
Archer Colin.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
thank you both.
Had a really good time over the festive feet. Put my teeth back in.
We got to get back into it now.
Yes, over the festive period. I hope you had a better time than I did. I was laid up. It's probably the easiest thing to say. I was bedridden for a week and a half.
Yeah, you had a.
You were definitely sounding like you were coming down with it around the 22nd. It was like,
yeah, remember that? Yeah, well, you were literally sliding off your chair.
Yeah, I could feel myself go at that, and I could hear the voice go and just get worse. Next morning when I woke up, that was it. I was out of it. I did not move out of my bed for the next 4 days. Didn't eat a thing. Couldn't move. I was in.
Oh, you had the super mega COVID.
Yeah, I wish it was a COVID. One of my colleagues had the COVID bad, and accordingly, I was worse than him. And that was him telling me.
Yeah, you could.
5 days in, and I was still in a worse state than he was.
Wow.
But it was really bad. And the worst part is, a few years ago, with my diabetes, I had a diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA, and
oh my God,
multiple organ failure. And I was less ill then than I was over the Christmas period now.
Oh my God, PJ.
That's how bad
That's really
it was.
Scary.
It was. It wasn't scary for me because I was in my bed and I didn't notice.
Yeah.
But yes, it was scary for my wife. And the only good thing I got out of it was I had an audiobook running all the time because it was literally I was lying there doing nothing else. So I got up my audiobooks. So
yay, thank God for audiobooks, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Thank God for, because my eyes it was bloody, so I couldn't even sit and watch anything. So I never watched anything over the 2 weeks because my eyesight was bloody as well. So I missed all the shows that I normally watch, and I'm still trying to catch up with them. 2 weeks worth of stuff. It's not fun to try to catch up.
Oh, I know.
At least you have a backlog of good stuff.
I've got a backlog of good stuff, yes, but
need another week off to catch up.
And I'm back working full time again. Went back in again for the first time today, and I got good news for the new year.
Oh, go on.
Good news, bad news. It makes no difference, I suppose. My daughter found out what she's having.
Oh,
so
congratulations!
Oh, that's awesome! Yay! So she's definitely gonna tell everybody. She's not gonna keep it secret.
This way, and I won't tell anybody.
Like this, they know what to decorate the baby room as.
Yes.
And I'll just keep it to myself. I won't tell anybody it's going to be a boy. But
it could have been a good April surprise for me.
The good thing is, I'll find that unusual. I grew up 3 older sisters, 3 daughters, so I'm used to female.
Oh God! So. Now you can spoil a grandson. How awesome is that?
Yeah. Guess who's getting all this?
Hmm?
Basically, all this was going to my granddaughter or grandson, whoever it was. But it's
you'll have to train him up well.
Well, I was watching a wee bit of The Big Bang Theory, and it was Wolowitz talking to Raj about Bernadette being pregnant, and he says,
Yeah.
I'll need to get her actually watch TV early." And Raj says, "Why? Otherwise, when she grows older, I'll have to go outside." Definitely going to get the kid hooked and all this stuff, so we can just sit in the house watching it.
Absolutely. Oh, perish the thought of putting somebody outside, making them watch something like that outside.
Yeah, or going outside. Do you know how bad it was going to work this morning? Not only did I have to scrape my car, I had to scrape my car inside as well.
Oh, that's not good.
No. We're talking
I'm sitting there thinking, it doesn't look as if it's scraped it much. And I went inside, I went like that. Realised I had to scrape my car in the inside. It was that cold. And I was thinking,
did you have a scraper, or was it the credit card scraping kind of thing?
Oh no, I've got a scraper. I always keep a scraper. It used to be a video, not a videotape, sorry, an audio tape cover. So put my finger in.
Oh yeah, they were free.
They're good for that.
They were great for it because you didn't get a lot of cold on your fingers because they were in the slot.
You had a fold over that covered your fingertips. So you could just scrape away.
See, I wish I'd known that at the time. That is an awesome idea. I have many, many decades of experience under my belt of scraping cars that haven't been garaged and been out in all weathers, and many, many years.
It's an awesome idea until your dad starts raiding your pirated heavy metal music library because he needs the cover shells.
Oh dear.
See, I used to watch people scraping a car, and some of them I used to thought were crazy. Some of them people would come out with boiling water and pour it over to melt the ice. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're going from frozen to boiling. Yeah, just let's hope something doesn't
frozen again.
Yeah,
I'm going to think that one through.
Yeah, just hope something doesn't go ding off your window while you're driving down the road, because that's it shattered. Going from cold to hot to cold.
Yeah.
But I used to sit and watch people do that, and I'm sitting there thinking, why?
Yeah.
It literally takes you 5 seconds to scrape off the windshield. And it takes you 5 minutes to boil the water.
Well, we were lucky. I mean, we lived in a very heavily wooded area when I was younger, and I would just go out, start my car, shut the door, and go back in the house and finish getting ready. And it would sit for 15 minutes with the engine running from a absolutely freezing cold start, and I'd get in, and it would have at least made a dent in clearing the windscreen.
Yeah. Well, there you go. See, there you go. I'm not
warm water.
Boiling water bad, and it's hot, warm water. I used to have a glove scraper, but it snapped in the inside, and because I didn't even notice it was ready to go, it cut my finger. So I basically stopped using them. I use the one with a big handle, so if it starts going, it's going down at the bottom, not where my hand is.
Yeah, I had the big handled one as well. I used to be like MacGyver. I used to have everything in the boot of my car: extra windscreen wiper fluid, scrapers, you name it.
My dad finally got fed up with it 1 year of having to scrape it, because we got it quite regularly when we were growing up so far north, so 4 or 5 months of winter. So he did get what's it called, a cabin heater, and he put it on one of those old mechanical sockets. So you just pressed in a few pins and you said, okay, this is the time where I want to start warming up the car.
Yeah, I know those.
But yeah, he probably spent a good 4 or 5 days making sure that he had the proper electrical socket and everything, the 3-pin ones, and literally dragged the line about 60, 70 meters to where the actual car was parked. Just so we could have it properly running. But
well, I do in the morning what I normally do, apart from this morning, because I wasn't expecting it to be that bad, is I go into my car, turn the engine on, put the air conditioning on full heat, and then go out and lock my car because I've got the spare keys. And that way I can just go back in, get my things organised, come out, finish the scraping of the car, and when I get in, it's warm. Wish I did that this morning because the inside is not fun.
No. And forget about it warming up in time to get to work, because by the time you get to work, it's just barely getting warm.
Oh, God. So what have you been watching over the festive period?
I got quite inspired by the stuff that you were saying you were watching, PJ. Unfortunately, I did have my computer, or rather my hard drives on my computer, both my main and my backup. So my computer was completely dead when I woke up on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
ouch.
Cost a fair amount of coins to make sure that I could do every reboot and rebuild everything. So I've lost a little bit of the recommendations we were talking about. But I did remember Chuck. So I have that now on Amazon Prime running. I'm about halfway through season 1. I've started rewatching My Name is Earl. Because I just love the humor in that one.
You go. I was thinking about what to watch because after Chuck, I finally finished it after my bout. I started rewatching Time Team again, and I was sitting there thinking, what next? So I put a bit of Hogan's Heroes on. I thought, nah. I put a bit of Big Bang Theory. I went, nah. I put a wee bit because I was looking for something. But yeah, My Name is Earl. That's an idea. No seen that for such a long time.
It was the same thing for me. I think I saw it when it came out, never gave it a second thought, and I thought, I actually remember this. And you know the fat brother of Earl, Ethan Suplee?
Yeah, he was
Google him today.
Tucker and Dale.
At the transformation.
No, he wasn't in Tucker and Dale. He was in something like that. Well, Tucker and Dale, it was basically like Errol and what was his name in it? What was his name in My Name is Errol?
I don't know.
I've just watched an episode today, and
don't worry.
The four of them were great. There was Errol, the brother, the
ex,
and Darnell. Darnell, was it not?
Darnell. Yeah.
The four of them were fantastic together. The whole dynamics of the four of them together just worked so well. It was great to watch it. I remember the aspects of that. And
they must have had a blast doing all of that.
Oh yes, they looked as if they were having fun. So I think My Name is Earl's going to be on my list because, as I said, I watched a couple of episodes of Hogan's Heroes because I was thinking about.
I can still hear the theme song to that.
Yeah. The first episode was in black and white. Had a Russian in it, and then it basically changed overnight to colour, and the Russian was not in it. So,
I just remembered something we watched. We rewatched Tremors, the first Tremors.
Oh, brilliant!
Epic fun.
Epic. I love Tremors. I've got the movies and I've got the TV show.
I just forgot how.
I think the review the Critical Drinker did of that is probably the greatest homage to just low fun, but with so much depth to it that it's just surprising because I didn't really consider the depth of the level. The older mentor, the younger guy, when we're talking about Kevin Bacon and the other guy, and even the survivalists. They're amazing fun too, but so is the shop owner. It's got so many characters there, and even the worms, the tremors, whatever they're called, for being animatronics, they're so much alive. You actually go, it's like, whoa, well, that's scary, especially when it comes after the survivalist and just smashes into the wall.
Yeah, I love Tremors. I got the box set. My wife bought me that for my birthday. I've got the 7 of them right up to the most recent one where Bert Gummer dies.
Oh.
Gets eaten. So he does.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of Bert.
But
To be honest, I don't think I've seen beyond the
I love
third
Bert.
film.
And I like them all because yes, they go down in quality, no doubt about it. But
It's not.
I still think it's just fun. It's just good, clean, old-fashioned
Yeah,
schlock horror. It's just done for fun. Nobody takes it serious. It's not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not a Friday the 13th. It's not Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just good schlock,
it's just fun.
fun horror.
And the special effects are just organic. There's no CGI that I'm aware of, except for like maybe I don't know if there's any CGI at all in the first one.
There is a few, but it's usually for distance, so if they've got a lot of the not the Asplast. Well, in the Asplasters, because they're flying, if there's a couple of them, there's CGI, and the ones
that's the second film, though.
The Shriekers is the second film.
Yeah.
The Shriekers, when there's a lot of them, that's CGI. But yes, when there's only one or two of them, it's animatronics and puppets.
Yeah, exactly. And I think those work so much better. And that scene where he runs and he takes a chance the thing is going to hit the wall on the side of the mountain, the side of the cliff, and it just like it's just like splattered inside. But it's such a realistic prop. It's great.
Yes, well, that's to say. You look at the one when it comes out the ground. They did that in 2 stages. The first one was animatronic, basically a small animatronic coming out, and then what they did was they dug a hole and had a life-size version of the top of it. People standing inside, beanie arms and the tongues and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they did a lot of. It was like puppetry, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
It was
basically
really
had
good.
an almost full-size version, just the top half. So when it came out, and they had people underneath as the tongues. So there was 3 or 4 people doing all the bits with the tongues, and they had animatronics with the jaw going and stuff like that. And then they did the nice close-ups where they had the tongue wrapping around or doing the searching. And in effect, that's just the same idea. It's the one like Jabba the Hutt's tail. It's people just using stuff like that. It was just so well done, and it looked superb. Because the one where the guy lies on the tire, and you just see the thing come up, grab him, and pull him down. In effect, it's the same idea. That was on a platform, and someone has the tongue just leaned up and pulled him down. And it just looked as if he got dragged through, and it was literally he did, because they had it set up that he just lay across the tire and then just somebody pulled him through it. And it's just things like that, so simple to do, but it looked so well done.
It did. It was really good. Really good.
It's so simple to do, but imagine the amount of planning and preparation and pre-work going on behind the scenes to actually make it really stand out and happen. And I think it's probably part why I really like the older films where there is a lot of these animatronics.
Yes.
Even if we take what would you call now? Mogwai. Why is the name gone for me?
Gremlins.
Gremlins. That's the one.
You
can tell they're tiny little puppets just running around. There is someone underneath with like sticks and whatnot, just trying to make them move, and a little bit of stop motion and all of that.
See, when I watched Gremlins, do you know what tune was going through my head? I know it sounds silly. Was Fraggle Rock.
Oh yeah, Fraggle Rock.
See, when I watched Gremlins in the bits with the bars, and you just see, and all I could think was Fraggle Rock. Because
I'm certain if you go on YouTube, someone has already done that. The Gremlins running around and the Fraggle Rock theme on top of it.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things that when I first watched it the very first time, obviously I'd seen Fraggle Rock not long before, because I used to have a Dozer. My ex we used to love it. The kids used to love it, and my ex used to love it. So that was one of the few programs we all used to sit and watch. and I bought her a dozer. It was about that size. It
You
was
see,
just
something I
foam
wanted as a
dozer.
kid for that was always the scaffolding that the small ones built, that the Fraggles were always eating. I was just going, that looks like sugar candy cane something. It's like, I want one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to be, I got the dozers and I got the kids different Fraggles, and we used to all sit and watch it. 5 of us.
Gremlins are like the punk version of the Fraggles.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Definitely with Spike. With
the big mohawk. Yeah.
But oh yes, that's another series I need to watch as well. The Gremlins movies. And Fraggle Rock. The problem is I can't get a hold of the UK Fraggles. Anytime you find any, it's always the Americanized version of Fraggle Rock.
Oh, interesting.
The one season. I cannot find the one with Fulton Mackay. I just cannot find it. And I remember it. And I've asked a few people and they said, no, Fulton Mackay was never in it. And yes, he was. He played the lighthouse keeper. But I cannot find it. And I know he was in it because I've even checked his IMDb and he was in it.
Right.
See, people actually just say, no, because it's the same idea. Anytime you see Fraggle Rock now, the show clips, it's the American version, which is in effect, it is the British version with an American doing the lighthouse keeper.
Because the puppets and everything used to literally be like offset, and then you had like the interview set.
You only had him and the dog, and that was it. Or you would see the occasional Fraggle with the dog. So they never really had the lighthouse keeper with any of the Fraggles. You would only see them in the background or something, as if they were sitting watching them. But it was only him and the dog. And it was Fulton Mackay. That's the one I remember. People don't believe me.
Maybe it's one of those, what do they call it? The, oh my God, what is it called? Where you think you remember something, but it didn't really happen.
Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect, yeah. Somebody will have to research that one.
Yeah. I've seen Critters, but I haven't seen Ghoulies.
Critters.
Yeah, can't you remember Critters? I can't remember if I
don't remember.
Critters is almost, it's basically big jawed gremlins.
Yeah.
It was basically just all jaw. Yeah. But I can't remember Ghoulies at all.
I remember the title, but I can't picture them. I can picture the other ones.
Yeah, so what Darren is responding to there is, I have a vague recollection of Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon doing some kind of gone fishing film. And
yes,
it's
I know.
Still playing the
grumpy
old man.
Ice fishing?
I think it is, yeah.
It's ice fishing. Was it not Grumpy Old Men?
It might have been Grumpy Old Man.
I might confuse them, but I just love them as a couple, like playing off each other because they were always so fun.
It's not a Mandela effect. He was definitely in Fraggle Rock. And yes, Sprocket the dog, yes. Couldn't remember it until you said it. And I thought, how could I not remember that?
Archer Collins got a good one right after that. Sorry for coughing, everybody.
Yeah, I
can keep muting my mic every 5 minutes.
That's why I have a mute button.
I've got it there as well, and I can feel it sitting like that.
I'd have to leave mine on permanently.
Yeah, we were talking about having like a downslide of Christmas, and I don't think it was the Kung Flu going around. I think it was more the stress from work, and then suddenly just getting 10 days straight off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you were straight out, Jim, weren't you? I mean, you were literally sleeping in your chair, weren't you?
I definitely was. It was literally just like fall asleep and say, "Oh, I need to log on and continue working." Luckily,
that's hardcore.
I do have comfy pillows and everything. It's just probably sitting up and sleeping. It's probably not the best thing.
Well,
I've
found a way to actually stop my yawning. I got a problem. I yawn when I'm cold. So I do. So my wife bought me a hot blanket. So I can sit in my
That's
room
nice.
without. I've got the heating on, but because my room is such right at the back of the house, it's a cold room. And I normally have a heater on, but because it hums, I turn it off when I'm recording. Hence the reason why I suddenly can get quite cold, and I can't even shut my door because the dogs walk in and out and open the door again. So,
Yes, yeah.
so he bought me an old man's blanket. So I can put it over me.
Ah, you're an official
The
old
big
man now.
secrets, and I learned this from the ladies over the years. It took me a while to actually appreciate it, but hot water bottles.
Oh yeah, we used to have them in work because one of the rooms that we worked in for years was we were in an old listed building, and the windows were like single pane windows, and the doors of the windows never really shut fully,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't change them because it was all listed.
Yeah.
And the draft in there was crazy, and we used to sit there and work with our coats and gloves on, and we'd be passing around hot water bottles. It would get
Yeah.
so cold in there.
I remember places I worked at were like that. Mind you, saying that, it was probably purpose built with my granda to make sure everybody got out to work rather than sat in the sheds. But my granda basically, his business, everybody just basically, my father, my uncles and all that, they just chipped in and built a shed themselves. So it was out of cement, concrete, marble, because they made headstones, so there was all these bits and pieces, and effectively they built it, and then it just gradually got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Having grown
wow.
up north of the Arctic Circle, I was definitely okay with the cold for the longest time since I moved to the UK. But I can definitely feel the last 5 years, maybe it's like, oh, maybe I should have a jacket on, because I'm usually a t-shirt and shorts kind of wearing guy, even when we have a snow day in UK, because we only get like one. T-shirt and shorts, no problem. But
see, the only time we get a snow day is when we physically can't actually drive anywhere, which is very rare in Scotland. Basically, they clear the roads fairly quickly, but there is a couple of times, especially in the smaller villages, and it means isn't even that like that because we've got a main artery coming through the village. So, in effect, it's always clear. But that's the only times I have a snow day, and it's only because I physically can't get to work.
Oh, I remember my first snow day having moved to UK. I moved early in spring, so I had a couple of months. I got kind of used to how London was working and everything. Like I knew what lines to take on the underground. I had all of that figured out. And then I wake up one morning, I think it was like Thursday, Friday-ish, and my boss is waking me up before my phone is actually waking me up with the alarm clock, and it's just going, you don't need to come into work today. We were calling it snow day. And I was just going, oh, it's snowing. And I'm just looking out the window, and I can see, yes, there are snowflakes drifting down through the air. They're not sticking to the ground.
Yeah.
I
walked 2 hours to work in the snow once because my car couldn't move, because I had to go in to get one thing done. Took me 2 hours to walk to work and 2 hours to walk back. Because public transport off.
I smell a 4 Yorkshireman sketch coming on here. Luxury.
When I was a lad.
I had to sleep in the snow.
Uh-huh.
Wake up.
I've done that. I've fallen asleep in the snow. Fair enough, it's in a tent with the snow over the top of it because we'd gone camping and it snowed overnight.
That's not too bad. At least hopefully it didn't leak in the tent, but it probably had some good insulation.
Yeah, eventually, but believe it or not, when that amount of snow's dropping, it's because, and it's usually cold outside, and a tent doesn't get a lot of insulation.
For me, that was called the military service, and we were lucky. We had a 15-year veteran sergeant as our drill training instructor, and you had cold on the outside, maybe minus 10, minus 15. We're talking centigrades here, by the way, for the American people. But inside the tent, it was definitely 50 degrees plus centigrade.
Ooh,
the fire stove was like burning bright red, as in danger, molten lava kind of red. So
No, they
he
wouldn't.
knew how to do that.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at some of these comments as well. Like that one there. I've not seen the Michael Holden and the John LeMessurier Christmas Carol. That
It was
sounds
good.
ideal.
It was all right. Yeah, it was good.
And yeah, the kids nowadays would never. But then again, kids don't get up for 16 hours after they've gone to bed.
The funny thing is that I actually do remember having to get up and walk what felt like a quarter of a mile across the living room to change the channel.
Yeah, because my dad always used to say that because the kids would say, "What did you do before you had a remote control?" My dad said, "We always had a remote control." I said, "Did you? How did it work?" He said, "Easily, Peter, turn it over." My job, walk over, click, no, that one, click, no, that one, turn it back, click, and that was it. 3 channels.
That's right. You had to stand there and wait until everybody decided what channel they were going to watch. Yeah,
exactly. But fun stuff.
I still remember the sound of the channel thing turning, and clicking to each channel.
I remember even at night when it would actually, you would have the girl with the test card, and then it go boom right into the centre and just
yes,
and that was it, and basically made you turn it off just because it was so annoying. And I remember the remotes on the wire. Yeah, it was basically just 2 buttons. One was up, as in change the channel, and the other one was the sound, and that was it. You still had to get up, switch it on, and switch it off. I always found it funny watching Married with Children because Al just had the big remote control and it only had 2 buttons. It was click, click, click. And I was sitting there thinking, that is so close to one of the ones we had. It was literally just channel, because there was only 3 channels. So it would just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that was it. Basically, then you would turn the volume up and it was just a slider. It wasn't even actually a dial. It was just a slider. So that was it.
Yep. And Colin is pointing it out. We didn't have 24-hour TV channels.
No.
Do you know that I could tell you when that started? I had become a father for the first time when 24-hour TV started, and I used to sit there 3 in the morning watching the telly, feed the rain, and all I thought was, thank
that was
Christ,
good timing.
That's all I thought, because I didn't have a recorder or anything like that. So what was on was what I was watching. So I would watch some weird and wonderful things at 3 o'clock in the morning, feed the rain, and I just think, thank Christ this started, or else I would be sitting here probably
staring at the paint. Yeah,
no, probably would be
yeah.
sleeping while I'm feeding the rain. But that was when. So you're talking about that was what, 1988, if I remember right.
Must have been around there, because
1988 was when
Mum and Dad were fairly quick on adopting new technologies, although we did have a Betamax for the longest time, even though VHS had surpassed it.
Yes,
but
radio rentals, mine was Granada, because remember the advert, rent Granada, you used to put 50p in, stuff like that.
Well, I'm not sure if it was, when I recall it, 24/7 channels. It was either Sky One, and they were showing TV shows like V for visitors, or it was the early days of Sci-Fi Channel. Not sure exactly when, because I have a recollection of both. And I think Sci-Fi Channel definitely came after Sky One, but those were the days. It was like you could stay up late, and your parents were fairly okay as long as it wasn't a school night, as long as you're up when we wake you up in the morning, and no complaining about going back to sleep.
Yep.
Yep. Disaster era, uploading VHS recorders.
Yeah, we had one of those.
My sister had a top loader Betamax. So she did. I've got my video recorder VHS sitting there. I only use it for watching my Keystone tapes. I've got the tapes and I've got them on DVD as well, but I've got about 4 or 5 that aren't on DVD, can't be found in YouTube or anything, and that's the ones I've watched. But once in a blue moon, I watch it, but I bought it. It cost me a whole £5 for a recorder. I was just looking for a new one because my old one had stopped, and I was just in a charity shop, and I was sitting there, and I says, "Does it work?" She says, "All you need is a cable." "I'll have that then." She says, "It just came in, and we were expecting it to be sitting there for months." Less than an hour, it was gone again. I've still got my video because I've got a big pile of them. But I got that.
Oh, Babylon 5.
The complete collection. It's got 5 seasons, every movie, and it's got Crusade. So I'm over the moon with that.
Yes, I like your hoodie as well, Gallifrey University. Very good.
Yes. I had this for a wee while. It's just, it's one that I very rarely put on because it's not as heavy as my other ones. So,
by the way, we didn't plan any color coordination.
No, I know. The color coordination.
Yes, I noticed that.
Just fluke.
I always wear black, so.
Normally, I've got a fleece on or something because I do like my black stuff as well. But
it's been, it's there was another film I watched. I remembered, and I watched a couple of horror films, and I'm struggling to remember every single title. But there was one called Pyewacket, and I don't know if either of you.
I've never even heard of that one. Pyewacket.
I had never heard of it before, and it's a little bit. What's it like? It's kind of a young person's film in terms of it has to do with a teenage girl who gets really angry at her mom because she has to move, and there's quite a bit more to it than that, but she starts to dabble in black magic, and it doesn't go well, shall we say. But it's actually very good. I quite enjoyed it. It's not going to be the best film you ever see, but for me, I quite like the sort of, and you used the word earlier, PJ, which was spot on, the sort of just schlocky horror, things that you can just put on and relax and just enjoy it.
And see, that's what I love, schlock horror. Has anybody actually seen the movie Schlock?
No, I can't say
no.
Oh, it's almost in the vein of I wouldn't say American Pie, but remember you used to have Kentucky Fried Movie, that type of silly comedy.
I recall them. I haven't seen them.
Well, it was like that. It was about the missing link. There was a girl who's blind, and Schlock, the ape man, starts past, and she thinks it's a dog, so she's clamping it, and it's going, touching her boobs and stuff like that, and she's going, bad doggy, and then she's got a stick, and she throws it, and it looks at it, and goes over, gets the stick, and hands it back to her, and she goes, good boy, and throws it again, and it goes, walks over, takes it, puts it in her hand, closes her hand round it, and she goes, good boy. And it just goes and walks away. But it's just silly humour like that. Schlock, it's called, absolutely hilarious. I've got
definitely have to have a look there, because that sounds a little bit like the Troma Films comedy they had with like Toxic Avenger and everything. I mean, dirt cheesy, absolutely shoestring budgets to make things happen.
Yeah, this was very in the vein of the Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yes, I think
the Kentucky Fried Movie was a bit more adult, but this one it's had some adult themes, but it wasn't over the top. It was just silly. Like, for instance, they find all the body parts. So a news reporter is reporting, and there's bags with body parts hanging out, and you see one of them moving. You just see the hand reaching over for it as if it's trying to get out the bag, and you're sitting there thinking, stuff like that. There's all these body parts are meant to be ripped apart, and it's sitting there, and then you just see one of them moving. It just wee silly things like that you would not see nowadays, even in a schlocky type of movie. You imagine American Pie type of horror. You wouldn't have stupid horror like that. You even remember things like Scary Movie.
Yep.
They wouldn't have had silly things like that. You've got Tucker and Dale versus Evil. You seen that one?
Yep.
I've heard of it, not seen it.
Oh, with
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk. Oh, when you need to watch it, it is absolutely amazing. Basically, you've got the trope of the two hillbillies and the school kids, and the school kids are dying in the most horrendous way, blaming the hillbillies. But it's only because they're blaming the hillbillies, they're thinking it's the hillbillies, so they're trying to preempt it by killing the hillbillies, and they keep killing themselves. So Tucker and Dale, Alan Tudyk is in it, and the two of them are hilarious, both Tucker and Dale, and even the way the kids die is just hilarious. Although it's a horror, schlock horror things, it's taken from the opposite side, so the two hillbillies aren't the murderers. It just so happens shit happens, and it is hilariously and they keep getting the blame for everything. But I would definitely give that a Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, do you know what? I watched something.
Do you know what's starting back this month?
Say again?
Do you know what's starting back this month?
Oh, what is it?
Resident Alien.
Ooh.
Oh, there's another Alan Tudyk stuff.
Yes. And it was only because we were talking about Alan Tudyk. It just reminded me. I saw the trailer for it.
Aside from the really cute girl in the remake of the V TV shows that I mentioned earlier, Alan Tudyk was the one that actually kept me going. Oh, okay, I'll keep watching this, because I don't think I've seen anything where I've gone just, nah, I'll turn it off, where he's been in it. Because he tends to bring good characters, whether it's light, humorous,
yes,
he's like the underdog hero.
Did you see Superpowered? Was it Superpowered? It's called. There was a TV show. It was only on for one season, and it's basically superheroes are real, but it's how you live in a world with superheroes. So you've got the lower tier heroes, and people are actually trying to how you have to take superhero insurance. I think it was called Superpowered or something like that. I've listened to a lot of audiobooks which are called Superpowered, so I don't know if it's the same thing. That's my door.
That's your delivery.
That's the door. Could you Banff will I actually get to deal with this?
Oh, we'll do our best.
Yes.
So, have you seen anything else? I saw Jaron was dropping quite a few shows in there.
Yes, he did. He's my memory, basically, because my memory is so bad. We mostly watched on BritBox some classic comedy specials. The 1977 BBC version of, we talked about that before, A Christmas Carol with John Le Mesurier. But before that, he did put something up there. Just trying to find it now. We watched more than I thought we did, actually, I have to admit. I also remembered that I watched House on Haunted Hill, the classic with Vincent Price again, which I'd seen a few times, but I always love watching that. That's so good.
That's another good one, yeah.
And I love Vincent Price. I love all the sort of the Scooby gang of that time, Vincent Price and Christopher Lee and Boris Karloff, all that.
I'm actually doing the same as you, because my memory is just horrible. I know I watched tons of things. I'm actually going through the stuff. So since Christmas, I started rewatching Jericho, the TV show, which is, for those that haven't seen it, I'll try not to spoil too much, but essentially it's a son coming home after a long absence to his family in a very small town called Jericho. And he's coming there with a mission to ask his very strict dad, who's the mayor of the town, for his part of the grandfather's inheritance. But but it turns out they don't get off on the best footing, so to speak. But
Yes.
just as he's there, the entire of America is getting blasted by nuclear bombs.
Oh my goodness.
So they're basically getting locked down into that town, and it's fairly good. It's really well played. There's quite a lot of known actors in it. So it's a TV show I enjoy. I wish they had been able to kind of flesh it out a little bit more. Then already mentioned My Name is Earl. That's basically been what I did on Amazon Prime. On Netflix, I've basically been trying to find a good anime show. Guilty Crown I kind of like. Has a little bit of that. It's a little bit childish-ish, but I sort of kind of enjoy it. I started watching a Korean TV show called The Silent Sea, but I'm a couple of episodes in. I'm not sure if I can say it's, yes, this is really, really great or not. And another thing was actually a Swedish TV show called Anxious People. I do not have a clue what it is about really yet, because I'm only 2 episodes in. But basically, it's a father and son who are police officers who are actually teamed up together with each other. So they're basically driving the car, riding the shotgun, and they get trapped in kind of a bank robbery hostage situation thing. And it kind of goes on from there. But there's some really weird but quite wonderful characters in there. They're standoffish, and it's like you don't really know what's going on, but you definitely have a sense that there is a lot more under the surface. But I'm only 2 episodes in. I cannot say that I know it was going to be the best or not, but I kind of got hooked a little bit. So it's definitely on my, no matter how bad it is, I will watch it, at least the first season.
Yep. Sorry for the interruption. It was the old Bill at the door. They were looking for somebody who's given this address as their location, and they were looking for them. Never even heard the name before, never mind anything else. So
but yeah, in other stuff that I watched, I did my first ever rent a film on Amazon Prime that is in cinemas, and that was Dune. Because I was just going, I'd like to watch it, but I'm not caring going out to cinema, especially seeing what's going on with current climate and everything.
The silly thing is everybody I've heard saying it's good, right? I'm not denying that people are really enjoyed it, but it's the fact is you're getting so many people saying, "Oh, you have to see it in this for it to get its best."
I'll do my typical. I'll shove my hands in your face and say, no, you do not have to watch this.
No, but I've heard a lot of people saying you have to watch it in this format to get the best out of it because all the other ones make it less. And I'm sitting there thinking, if you make a program that you can only watch in one format, it defeats the purpose. Because then you're saying to people, don't buy it in DVD, don't buy it in Blu-ray because it's not in this format. Most people have said that it looks great in IMAX because of the quality and how really good it looks. If that's the case, then why would you buy a Blu-ray or a DVD to watch it later on like you would do with a lot of stuff? Why would you watch it on a big screen TV if it's going to look bad?
Yeah.
The thing is, I have cinema. I have a 147-inch projector, 4K HD quality, good sound, surround sound system and everything. And I have a microwave. I can make myself microwave popcorn and everything. I got what I need, but was it worth 16 quid? I would say okay. Saving the time to travel to the cinema and all of that nonsense going on, and all the upselling. I mean, I probably spent 18 quid in totals, and that was Coca-Cola, popcorn, and renting the film for 48 hours. comfy seats, no one to disturb, no one to like.
That's the big one.
Alone.
Yeah.
So I would say that was the benefit. In terms of what the film was, I would say I thoroughly enjoyed it. Would I ever go to tell anyone you have to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Now, there is movies out there I think that people should know about and have to watch, but nothing new. Nothing new. I wouldn't say there's anything in the last 5 years I would say to somebody, you have to see. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Yes, that is what, 10, 12 years old, maybe? A wee bit longer, but I don't think it's, I think about 10-year-old. And it's those type of movies I would say you have to see. I can't imagine anything nowadays.
You see, I would temper myself to, you should watch the original Tremors.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Oh, definitely. Without a doubt.
I've got the box set sitting there. So I love Tremors. It is just one of my favourite series of movies. And the TV show, I love that as well. Anything with Bert Gummer. Even Back to Perfection with his big punt gun hunting.
I love Bert.
Uh-huh.
And I miss when he was sort of was Bert and Reba, you know.
Yeah.
Reba McEntire played his wife, you know. I just, those two were great. They were just a great double act.
It's just a case, it's just a shame after the first one didn't come back.
I know.
Yeah. But I think sometimes what they do is they fail to actually realise that it's the good dynamics, so they don't invite the actors back. They think, oh, well, all we really need is Bert. All we really need is this. And then the rest of them, or if they no, well, you're a wee bit too expensive, so no. Whereas it changes the dynamics. I think Bert was definitely better in the first movie with his wife. Once she wasn't in the picture, it changed.
He kind of becomes a different character, doesn't he? Without her, he
changed to a different type. He still got his, but he becomes more overly serious in some respects.
Yeah,
it's almost as if he's flippant about things that he wouldn't have been flippant about.
Yeah, she was his sort of counterbalance, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I think it worked a lot better. The dynamics there were a lot better, but he was still one of the better characters in the whole series. But yes,
oh yeah,
I think we've got one of these nutcases back.
Oh bless!
Hey, they're starting early.
Yeah, they're starting. Yeah. You can always tell it's going to be good because we've actually got people actually coming in just to give us views. So they have.
Yes, very kind of them.
But there you go. It's just really nice of them actually to get the view count up. Thanks, Grace. But we can always get it there. So, have you seen any movies over the last couple of weeks? Well, you've obviously seen June. When you've seen a couple of Christmas horror ones. Any newer ones?
Any what ones? Sorry.
Newer
ones. Newer movies. No, I don't think I've watched any new movies. Oh. Mostly just older ones. Or ones that I found on Prime.
Yeah, I saw one new movie. Spider-Man.
Ooh. What do you think?
There was good parts in it. I can't deny it. I love Spider-Man in movies. However, I didn't think it's as good as some of the bigger channels were going on about. It was entertaining somewhat, but there was still a lot of chatting. It's almost like they're too busy. Look at this character, look at this character, look at this character, look at this character, isn't this? And then saying, oh, but that's from my universe. And you're sitting there thinking, shut up and just go on with it. You could be doing fight sequences rather than talking about these characters. And then the bits with the 3 Spider-Men, and sometimes they would say things, you're sitting there thinking, really? Yeah, you can understand the 3 of them are actually maybe going, nobody else understands it because of this, and this. Then you've got other ones where they're doing the typical things you would expect. Is it only coming out your wrist, the gunk, the webbing? How can you make? We have to make them with pellets, and how's it come out your wrist? Does it only come out your wrist? Making silly jokes about it, which you can imagine, but parts of it you're thinking they're going on. Oh, I treat you like my brothers, and you're sitting there thinking you're the same person from 3 alternate universes, and you're acting as if you've known them all your life. But you're different. You don't look the same. It's not the same Peter Parker from 3 different. It's just so happened it is him and his life. It's just 3 different Peter Parkers. Just because they're called Peter Parker, and this is you're sitting there thinking, whoever wrote that dialogue is just cramming stupid stuff in. I don't think it's as good as a lot of bigger channels were putting out there. It is entertaining. However, it has got problems.
I haven't seen it yet, but I know there's 3 major distinctions between Maguire, Garfield, and Holland's kind of Spider-Man, the way they've been presented. Tobey Maguire, let's preface this by the way, but if you read the comic books, you have a lot of thought bubbles where Spider-Man is having an inner monologue with himself. And he has the cheeky comments when he's attacking the villains, whether it's not just a normal street thug or a big villain. Tobey Maguire, his character let you come into his headspace, but he wasn't having a lot of that inner monologue. Garfield, I could never really get into, even though he had Stacy, one of my favorites. MJ, also like Stacy more, I don't know why. But Holland's character is definitely a lot more about vocalizing the inner monologue. Whether or not he's in the Marvel universe or he's having his own films, he's talking out loud to himself too much. But I still like all of them. And I've heard that, like you said, all the bigger channels are saying Garfield got his big shining moment in this one. So I'll definitely give it a watch if that is true, because I think he was a bit of a letdown for me in terms of Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, and Archer's right. It could be the reason I've got is a lot of them are saying it's so good and it's giving it high praise is because there's been a lot of disappointment out there. But I do like the 3 Spider-Men for different reasons. I dislike them for different reasons as well. Tobey Maguire, I disliked him as Spider-Man. All the flying around, and he's swinging, and his legs are flying, and his arms are thing. You're sitting there thinking, it's no Spider-Man. Peter Parker is
that's mainly in the first one. By the second one, which is the best one.
The first one is the bit it actually just sticks with you, and it's because of that. Nothing else Spider-Man related. I didn't kick Wendy out; she just disappeared.
she just disappeared. But one of my favorites is Doc Ock in the second one against Toby.
Aye, but that's what I'm saying.
But because of the
first one, I just could not get into the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man because every time I saw it, all I remembered is that, and him as Spider-Man just did not work for me. It's Peter Parker he worked because he did have that
teenage
mouthy, bit geeky and getting picked on,
but he wasn't sciencey enough for me, which is Spider-Man. A comic book, at least for me. He's got the brains, he's got the talent.
He didn't need to be. That's the problem, because he didn't need to make his own shooters. They didn't need to show him as geeky like that. Whereas the second one, Garfield one, you had him. He had to be geeky because of shooters. However, I hated him as Peter Parker, but as Spider-Man, he had more control over his limbs, and he looked better as Spider-Man. So when he was swinging, his legs was right in front of him and stuff like that, it looked like me. But every time I think I told him, well,
if you're going to go down that route, I think Tom Holland fits best for physical size. Just physical size.
Yeah,
he's
but
tiny enough.
The thing that annoys me is, although he's got the geekiness of it, I think sometimes they play it too much.
Oh, like, I was thinking you were going to say he sounds like a teenager.
Metal. Yeah, but the fact is, it's almost too much. Because
exactly, he sounds like a teenager that just had drunk 10 Red Bulls and goes off.
Yes, and it was things like, it didn't have the quips. It was more of a case of, oh, a teenager would act like this, and I'll do this. And like, for instance, when he's fighting the Winter Soldier, grabs the arm and going, "Is your arm metal?" And you're sitting there thinking, and he's just geeking out over Iron Man, Captain America, and all this stuff. It's too much. But then again, I didn't like it for the simple fact is he got the spider suit from Iron Man. And I just did not like that, because there you've got, anybody could have been Spider-Man then, because it wasn't him, it was controlling it. He could walk up walls, he could do the things Spider can. However, he's got a suit that, in effect,
90% of his power
is 90%. But even the bits where it's not his power, how did it work? Because you remember when they showed it in earlier ones, he had to wear the material gloves so he could do it. Whereas he's now got sort of metal gloves, metal armor, which appeared. So how did all this? How could the things that come through fall out, allowing them to stick to walls, come through? And it's things like that. And I thought, yep, don't like that at all. So there was good and bad in them all. And I think between them all, you could make one good Spider-Man.
But it's like I said, for me, Maguire was, you got into his headspace. You kind of felt his emotions and everything, because they do such an amazing Uncle Ben coverage. They spend several minutes building that up. And that's kind of unique for a film. They spend so much time really building up with great power comes great responsibility.
And I hated it. And the fact is, in this one, it was Aunt May that told him. And the fact that Aunt May, he didn't call her Aunt May. He called her May. I dislike that. She's too young. Dislike that. Everything about Aunt May.
Well, Marissa Tomei isn't exactly a spring chicken.
Exactly, but in this one,
look like a spring chicken.
Yeah, this one, I hated everything about Aunt May. See, when she died, didn't care, because I didn't like the characters, because she wasn't Aunt May. Spoilers, sorry people, but she wasn't Aunt May. Because he didn't even call her Aunt May. It was just, he called her May, and you're sitting there thinking, really?
Best part about Maguire's Spider-Man films, other than Raimi being the director, producer, whatever it is to it, is Aunt May. The lady playing Aunt May is so spot on.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely fantastic. It's just like, wow. That's exactly what I was reading as not even a teenager. I was probably 9 years old when I discovered comic books, and it was Spider-Man, the Hulk, Judge Dredd, and He-Man.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man by far was my favorite, because I was starting to get into or towards the teenage years, seeing the problems, loving parent, even though she's not parent, she's not mom, but she's a parent to him.
Yeah. I can't really say a lot about what I think is the best Marvel movie, but see, Guardians of the Galaxy, they mean nothing to me, because I'd never read any of the books, didn't really like Star-Lord. If I want to read Star-Lord, I'm thinking Star-Lord that 2000 AD bought over. Completely different Star-Lord. That's the Star-Lord I remember. Guardians of the Galaxy mean nothing to me. It's like watching Tank Girl. Tank Girl was an okay movie,
It was good fun, but
it was good fun, but it's not something that I would say is up there with a lot of the other ones. So Guardians of the Galaxy, everybody going on. I thought it was an okay movie, but I didn't care enough about the characters to even actually think, oh, really like that one. That's the type of thing. If they could,
Guardians of the Galaxy definitely hit my nostalgia spot with the music.
But see, the Guardians of the Galaxy, they could have put any 4 characters. They didn't need to be Rocket. They didn't need to be Groot. They didn't need to be Star-Lord. They didn't need to be, what was the girl's name?
Yeah, that's how little I actually absorbed.
But it was the fact is, the big thing was, I am Groot. Big deal. It's the same thing over and over again in Vin Diesel playing Groot. So you're trying to tell me he actually said more than 3 words and actually just kept recording the same words in different voices? Just no. They paid him to say the 3 words and then they basically just changed the tone on it.
You see, that becomes more fun, and I believe it's, what is it, Endgame or Infinity Wars, where Groot has become a kid again. But when he meets Thor, and Thor is going, oh yeah, I'm fluent in this. He had to be in like an elective class at school.
Yeah.
I like that jab, but the I am Groot was a little bit overplayed.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the Colin's saying that May and Ben were of the grandparents' generation. I thought it was his parents older. It was either his parents' older sister, May, or older brother, or Ben, but it was almost like maybe a 10-year gap between the two. So I thought they were older, but just because of they were the older of the siblings, and they were the ones that. So they were nearer the grandparents' generation, so they were older than his parents. That's the way I understood it from the comics.
Yeah, it's the same here. I think. Oh, what's it called when parents have they have one kid, and instead of the usual way families are formed, they have 1 or 2 kids, and then maybe a 3rd kid a couple of years later, where they have 1 kid, and then there's 10 years, and then they have 2 other kids. Slip Child, I think it's called, or
Bye, MC. Cheers, thanks for joining us. But there we go. Archer says he remembers the Star-Lord comics. Roebusters first appeared in Star-Lord comics. So when they bought over Star-Lord, they brought over Roebusters, which means Hammerstein did not start in 2000 AD. He started in Star-Lord and was brought over. Then he was added to different things, Hammerstein. And to me, Rojoy was the better of the two, was more the comic character. But I can understand why Hammerstein got put into different situations, because he was a war droid. Whereas you couldn't really put a Rojoy in different situations because he was a garbage droid. How many other situations could you put him in?
That was kind of my approach to the Guardians of the Galaxy. They never caught my attention as a kid. I never read the comic books.
I'd never even
But in terms of coming in blank this is just about the time when actually Marvel Cinematic Universe was really ramping up. They were putting out a lot of really fun, entertaining films. I'm not going to say all of them were great. They were fun and entertaining. And it literally hit at the right time. And I knew nothing about the characters, but I do like Star-Lord, his, shall we say, nostalgic connection to Earth. Even though he was, 5 years old when he got kidnapped off of Earth, so he wouldn't remember too much. Mm-hmm. And he's now mid-30s. So he's spent almost all of his life not at Earth. Drex, I believe, is the, shall we say, less than intelligent but very strong guy. I think it's David Batiste that is playing him. He's actually doing it with a very adroit, deadpan kind of humor. And I like that kind of character. It's like, that would definitely have been interesting. If I knew that was what it was, I would probably been interested in reading the comic books several years, decades earlier. Just for a film I knew nothing about, fantastic.
Yep. See, the thing is as well, similar idea. I'd read a lot of comics when I was younger. 2000 AD, Commando, Star Blazer were the ones that brought me through more of my adulthood. Childhood, I read anything and everything. Spider-Man, I was a big Spider-Man fan. Judge Dredd, Strontium Dog, anything 2000 AD, I would read them. However, certain comics I'd seen bits and pieces of. So although I hadn't read a lot of Captain Marvel, I was aware of Captain Marvel from different things. I was aware of X-Men. I was aware of Apocalypse. I was aware of certain ones because I didn't read a lot of the DC or Marvel comics, but I got a couple here and there. So I was aware of all the different ones. It's the same as Thor. I think the first time I read a Thor comic was after the Hulk in the Thor, as in the Lou Ferrigno Hulk, not the new Hulk or Thor being appearing. That's the first time I knew Thor was a comic book character, was because of the Lou Ferrigno Hulk movie with Thor in it. The ABC Warriors, sorry, I'm reading a bit thingy. The Guardians of the Galaxy had never even scraped any of my records, shall we say. I'd never even heard of them. So when they first came out, I didn't care enough about them to actually even think, they look interesting. I just thought, nothing. But it's the same as when I first watched Tank Girl. I'd never heard of Tank Girl, and I thought, nothing. They were entertaining movies, but they weren't movies that I would say, wow. They were just entertaining sci-fi movies. They could have been anybody in any of those roles. Tank Girl could have just been about two people with a tank. Just this so happening with the Raptor and the boom and all this. And
well, if we're gonna go on the Tank Girl route, I kind of enjoyed it, but I had no clue what I was going into. The same as when Pamela Anderson, straight fresh out of Baywatch, did Barbed Wire. I had no idea that was a comic book.
Exactly, I had never heard of it. Road Jaws, I don't think it was part of the ABC Warriors. It was part of Road Busters, which was the robot version of Thunderbirds, as you had mentioned earlier, as Archer had mentioned earlier. But Road Jaws was never part of the ABC Warriors. Hammerstein was. The two of them had came across from Star-Lord, which had Road Busters in it, as the Thunderbirds type robots. What would you call them? Troubleshooting squad, Mega Quake and stuff like that. You had a lot like that, but no, I don't think even Roadbuster was actually ever part of ABC Warriors.
Can't say that I'm too familiar with it. And and when apparently has gone back to the 19th century kind of interconnection with two potatoes and a wire.
Yeah, so basically, see, next time she's actually about to come online, she'll hear so she can get her modem up and running.
I actually missed that sound when you actually sat down in front of the computer. It took you 5 minutes just to get the computer up and running. Then you had to open up whatever web browser you had, but you couldn't do it like that. You actually had to click on a separate icon that was activating the modem. Then you had to do your login details, and then you click. And suddenly, this like small box to the side of your computer, wherever you had it, was like making massive amount of noises. It's like
Yep, there. Johnny Alpha. Strontium Dog was another Star-Lord one, yep, as well. And Judge Dredd didn't appear in episode 1. He appeared in episode 2 of 2000 AD. So he wasn't even in their first episode. So he wasn't one of their mainstay characters because he never appeared in the first episode. it was the second episode. It's almost like Doctor Who. The Daleks didn't appear in the first season. They appeared in the second episode. Didn't appear in the first one because how they wanted it to go. It just goes to show things like that. Poor Wend. Sorry, Wend. Wolf or Middenface? Wolfhammer was definitely the balm with the gonk. I love the gonk as well. Middenface McNulty. Being a Scotsman, I could appreciate more from Calham. But I was
Archie. So Colin is definitely showing his southern England heritage, because every time I hear someone from south of England saying the word law, they say lord or sword.
Do you know where that's coming from? Sylvester Stallone. I am the law.
I actually have to double check that because
he does say Sylvester Stallone says I am the law, and it doesn't sound like law. It sounds like law.
Yep.
I am the law.
Actually, I have to double check that because one of the films to watch is Demolition Man again. Just because current day.
See, I know a lot of people say things like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger movies were I thought some of them were fantastic. You could look at Demolition Man. You look at Running Man. You look at
Alien versus not Alien versus Predator.
Predator was
Commando.
Great. Rocky, great. Even Rambo.
Yeah.
Great. But you think of some of the movies, like for instance, Stop or My Mum Will Shoot.
Oh, such an amazing one.
Exactly, with Estelle Getty. You know what I mean? She was just superb in it. And but it showed that they could take the mickey. Or Twins. Shows you that these action stars could take the mickey out of each other. Tango and Cash.
Another great one. But Kurt Russell definitely
the bit where Sylvester Stallone says it basically turns around and he shoots and he says, "Who do you think you are, Rocky?" You know what I mean? They take the mickey out of themselves and stuff like that, and I think that's really good.
Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone had an amazing chemistry in Tango and Cash.
Yeah. Oh, aye. The Gronk and his heartseat. Yep, with his jaw. It could melt metal. And poor Gronk, he passed away, and Wolf had to skin him. So he did. Because asked him to, because that was their culture, to be worn by their friends. Right, where are we?
Sorry, we jumped ahead.
Hey, Cam, thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year.
Hey, Cam, Happy New Year's. Well, Happy New Year's to everybody in the chat, because it looks like it's on fire this evening.
Yes, it's always on fire. Come on. We've got the greatest chat out there. That's why I'm not in it.
Well, I am, so I'll take the credit. Thank you very much.
Predator was great, and so was the original Terminator. Yes.
Oh, yeah, so many people are going for Judgment Day. Well, I'm going the original one.
No, the original Terminator was just, it was fun. It was just the way it was set up was just so good, because even stupid things like when it was in the room fixing its eye, and the landlord, "Oh, right, you got a dead rat in there," and he goes, reply, "Fuck all that roll," and it's that type of thing. It was just so well done. You could just imagine, because nowadays they would go, the same scene was the real thing, and they would just turn and go, "Fuck all that roll," without that bit of
background or like giving you a lore.
Giving you the fact is replies are actually all calculated, so look for the right reply to the situation.
Exactly.
And even though it's a basically shout or a swear, it's done in a way that it gives you understanding of that. Whereas now they would just say it, and there would be no background in how it, and you would get the humour of it, and people would go, that was a funny. Not really.
Well, I'm gonna give you an even greater robot than T800. Yeah, he's T800.
Yeah, he's the original one is T800.
But the best robot ever is
Maximilian. Maximilian.
Johnny Five, without a doubt.
He's the funnier robot. However, the best one was Ice Pirates, not even Black Hole. Ice Pirates. I love the robots. It was the fact is they had built one, and who was the two characters? There was the Snow Vaughn, Robert Urich, and then he had his sidekick, the black guy, and he's the builder. And the robot comes in and kicks the shit out of a load of them, and he goes, "Really well done, kid." And he said to him, "Why did you make it black?" And he says, "I wanted it to be perfect." He kicked shit out of all these robots. Basically, they still had that funny line. I just wanted it to be perfect. And you could not get away with jokes like that. Whereas that joke was so well placed. It wasn't seen as, he's basically saying this and that.
But it wasn't maliciously.
It was just a joke. And it was obviously the guy who had built the robot, it was black. He built a black robot. He could have said any reason, but what he said made the part funny because it was just so well done. Dorf Hum Dum Dum Dum. I loved him, believe it or not, in He-Man. Dorf Hum Dum Dum Dum. He played a great He-Man. It was a crap movie.
But we did. Now I get it. We're talking about Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Dolph Hum Dum Dum.
Well, I can kind of see that, but I was just going to say.
Walter the Robot. Yes. Grand Moff talking about Walter the Robot. The free robot who basically was Judge Dwedd's manservant. Walter the Robot. I'm with Rowdy Yates. Sorry, I was assuming. That's a Judge Dredd joke, sorry. But Block War. If you ever want to read a Judge Dredd story, Block War. Pantomime movies, a team of action heroes who used to name the classic composed. Stallone was going to be in the list. Bruce Willis was, Beethoven, and Arnie was. See, all I could think about was that one was the Monty Python's, the Nigel Kent was a real pissant. Aristotle was a burger for the bottle. Basically, that's what I was thinking when I was reading the list. And Beethoven, Arnie would have been who? Go on, tell us. Right. Robbie the Robot is another fantastic robot. Come on, it is definitely one of the most iconic. The Forbidden Planet. Great movie. Leslie Nielsen, not as a comic role, as a would you class him as a starring role, or was he the heartthrob role? But he definitely was there. Sarah Connor Chronicles, I thought were okay. Yeah, there's Wendy.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Rumors of my demise.
Yes, the rumors of my demise have been highly exaggerated.
I battled my way back
Excellent. Did
from the early Cretaceous period.
Yeah, they basically actually what happened was you fired up your AOL disk and got the modem working.
Yes, I used to use those as drinks coasters. We used to get so many of them in the post.
The thing is, I think my dad used to use them as in work. You used to make headstones, and sometimes if you had to make, it was called a plinth. Right, basically it was for round the edges of the graves, so it was like 6 foot by I think it was by 6 inches by 8 inches, just so it was a long thing. And every so often, because you didn't want to actually, you had to have a bit of strength, occasionally we'd put strips of metal in to do it. What he used to do was, he had so many AOL discs, he used to cut them up and then just put them in, and it was basically, because it was all slotted in, it was a bit of reinforcement on them. So you put them into where the concrete was in the middle, just to give them a wee bit of support, because they could interlock all the bits and stuff like that. But he got so many, he used to just cut them with a machine into wee strips. But there you go. So if you ever come across a plinth which has got a load of this in it, yeah, it's a Jack and Allen.
Very cool. People used to make like art with them and do all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, they were in such abundance, even outside of America.
Why?
Yeah, there's probably like entire landfills dedicated to them.
Would not surprise me at all.
I know. They're probably being shipped in bundles over to somewhere so somebody can actually, because nowadays they don't throw them out, the discs, because of the materials in them. They put them away to get stripped down. I know a company actually, the DVDs, which you think about it, people used to throw away. Once they were snapped to throw away, they keep them, because seeing how like old monitors and stuff like that, they strip out the gold, the silver, the copper, the lead from even the monitors and stuff like that. They put discs and strip them out, because there's bits of metal in there, even if you only get a fraction of an ounce in each of these discs. Are so plentiful that it's worth it for them.
Yeah, so that was fun. I was all over the place trying to figure out if Virgin Media was tanking tonight. I don't know. But no, it was definitely some strange dropouts of the Wi-Fi tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure we'll see something in the local news tomorrow. It's like, oh,
yeah,
how did I not get that joke? How did I not get that one? I was trying to think. I think maybe I'd be bug. It was just because obviously it was classic. We're going to use action heroes who would be use the name of classic composers. So Stallone would be Liszt, Bruce Willis would be Beethoven, and Arnie was. I'll be back.
Yes.
I know. How did I miss that? Just goes to show I was not thinking at all. Everybody else got it. I didn't get it. Yeah, Leslie Nielsen for Forbidden Planet.
Oh my God, such a classic.
Mm. The Return of the Wind.
Hello, boys. I'm back. That's such an amazing film too.
I mean, love that film.
It's so over the top American, proud, patriotic, all of that stuff going on within it. But it's also taking a little bit Mickey out of itself. But
absolutely,
there is one that goes even further and it's even better, and that's Armageddon.
Oh, yeah, we've definitely seen that.
Yeah, Bruce Willis is at the top.
It is
of his
Bruce
game.
Willis, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Armageddon. Yeah. Yes, I remember that.
Yes. I'm all for save the planet, go green, do carbon neutral nonsense and everything like that. But I do like my red steak and stuff like that every now and then. I know cows are supposed to be bad, but when a film opens up, okay, something dangerous is going to happen. But the opening sequence is Bruce Willis playing golf and just hitting golf balls at a Greenpeace boat. I'm just going, yep, I would definitely do that too.
Do you know, it's been so long since I've seen Armageddon. Is that the one where they have to deflect the huge asteroid?
They have
like
to
a planet killer?
it.
They have to split it. Yeah.
It's like a planet killer asteroid, isn't it? And then they have to, I do remember it now, but I can't remember the finite detail of that one. Whereas like with Independence Day, we've watched so many times, and I just love the comic edge to it.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more. And I like the fact that there is a Viking in there playing a Russian cosmonaut. And at the end, well, it's not exactly spoiler because you say you have seen it. They're trying to fix the engines to get it up and running. And he just takes a wrench and just smacking it all over the place. It is going Russian component, American component, doesn't matter. It's all made in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Battleship. Anyone? I like the idea of that movie.
I loved it for the naval battles.
But the fact is, even I like the idea that the way they did the alien missiles. Boom, 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 and it's you can see it from the game. There's somebody
you can see it's the pins you're putting down on the board.
That was the thing. So when the thing fired and they just went up, and down, and went boom, 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 and then down the ship, and then they exploded, and the ship just sort of disintegrated. You could hear somebody saying, "You sank my battleship," but the rest of the story, with the big spinning things, where did they come from? The big spinning things, where did they come from? I would have rather they were submersible, so it takes aeroplanes and all that out of the equation. They could have been the ships on the sea because they could have been firing depth charges. They could have been submarines and stuff like that, or all the different types of boats against the aliens, submersibles on England, because they could have been something that destroyed. Basically, they could have put a EMP or something that anything that flies just does not work. So the ships could be fighting ships, and it could have been boom, 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 and somehow the Navy's got a hold of alien tech because they realised their ships, their torpedoes and stuff like that just didn't work, but somehow they managed to get hold of the alien tech.
Grand Moff Miranda has literally what has the heart for me in the whole thing. It's the sequence with the big decommissioned battleship and the grandpas, the veterans, because it's like, nope, don't worry, this is how we did it back in the days, and it's working. And they're literally having this massive battleship.
There you go. That's
turning 90 degrees.
The one thing that the battleship I liked was it was an old type battleship. It had been up and it still had people. Remember I was saying about audiobooks? There's one called The Ark Royal. It's 14 books. I'm only about halfway through the series because I've got other stuff that I keep bumping up, but they are really good books. But the very first one, it's a space opera about the Ark Royal. A British carrier that is sold. It is the only reason it still functions is because the British Navy is keeping it function as a training thing because it was the Ark Royal and it was the biggest ship they owned, but they didn't want to mothball it and stuff like that. So, but when the aliens attacked, all the big carriers were so they had so much technology that the aliens just could blast through, whereas the old stuff didn't have the technology, so they weren't as thin-skinned that the alien missiles could flash right through. They were so thick their missiles bounced off or their lasers just dinged off. So this thing just plowed through a full battle fleet of all these big ships.
But
And
it's
it
also a
reminded me
great
of
nod.
Battleship for certain parts like that, because it was an old ship which was in dry dock, effectively, which was brought out of dry dock in a moment of need. And it actually did a hell of a lot better than they expected. They only expected it because it was an old ship to get ripped to shreds, but it was only to hold off the thingies to delay them as long as possible. And it defeated them. And it was just such a great book. The first one is the best. There is other ones, the Trafalgar Gambit and stuff like that later on, about using that same type of technology, going back in time, or going back to use older technology to update all the new carriers based on the Ark Royal design. But it is a great story, and that's what it reminded me of. The battleships reminded me of that, and that reminded me of the battleships, because I'd listened to the first book not long after I'd seen Battleships, and the two of them just remind me of the old dry dock ship being brought out because it was the last thing they had, and they didn't think it would do any good.
Both Colin and Mock has kind of stolen my thunder a little bit. But something we did have, okay, yes, the Titanic was a little bit of a failure in terms of the mechanical engineering that we did have back in the day. We did build things to last and to function. If you look back at the World War II in color and World War I in color and documentaries like that, even just a simple cannon or a massive battleship, they built them to last and actually take nothing. They were meant to be able to do what they said they were doing on the tin. And Battlestar Galactica, the new show, but I don't really recall if it was that highlight in the original, but it's basically a ship about to be decommissioned, has no use in the modern fleet. It needs to go away now because we don't need this anymore. And it turns out to be the actually best weapon there is because of its functionality, not just the fact that, say, in Battlestar Galactica, it doesn't have all the internet and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all that nonsense. It's the fact that it can take a pounding. It can actually go up against the silent fleet.
It could not be hacked, and that was the difference. Basically, believe it or not, in the Christopher Nichols Ark Royal series, it's a similar idea because it was the older technology.
Yeah.
It couldn't be hacked the same way, so their technology wasn't getting wiped out by these new ones.
What was it called again, just for my notes?
The Ark Royal. The Ark Royal book series, basically, Ark Royal, it's there, by Christopher G. Nuttall. There is 13, I think, there are 13 books in the series.
I just remember
17 books in the series. So there's a couple more since the last time that I've need to put them on my. Hold on, I'm just going to add them to my wish list. So
I just remembered something we watched when you have a moment.
Yeah,
just popped into my head. Something you said just made me think of it. The Kingsman.
I've not seen the new one. I did see that advertised. I did see the clip of it in one
with Colin Firth and
both of them are enjoyable, but I love.
Was there not a third one? Is there not one called The Kingsman now? A new one? It's been. I don't know if it's
about to come out.
No idea.
It's just called Kingsman. Let's see.
The first film, Jim, I agree.
I love the classical music at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's just so chef's kiss, gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. It's such a
the first one I prefer. The
technically brilliant. It's just fantastic. Yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed that.
It has everything, and I was actually quite surprised to learn long after I saw it. It was like, oh, this is definitely on my buy list. Definitely keep my eye out for like collectibles and stuff. But it's apparently from the same team or same guy that did Kick-Ass. I loved Kick-Ass 1.
Okay.
The second one I wasn't too fond of because, hey, in what film do you have, and I know Nicolas Cage is all over the place, but in what film do you have Nicolas Cage being introduced by shooting a 10-year-old girl in the chest from 10 feet away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
See,
just going like, what's going on there?
yeah, right, guys. Now there was the Kingsman, the first movie we were talking about, and then there was the next one was
Golden Circle.
Golden Circle. Well, there's one released this year. Where is it? The Kingsman 2021. It's called The King's Man. In the early years of the 20th century, the Kingsman Agency is formed to stand against a cabal plotting a war to wipe out millions. Starring Ralph Fiennes.
Oh, Mr. Voldemort.
Yes, so he plays the Kingsman, and then you've got Gemma Alderton, Rares Elfins, Harry Dixon. So basically, you've got a new version of the Kingsman, which are going back in time and shooting an alien movie, a prequel, as you would say.
Mm.
So that's the one that I saw the trailer for, The King's Man. So it's obviously based on the Kingsman, the Golden Circle, the Kingsman, the Secret Service.
Yeah.
And this one, she's called The King's Man. That's it there.
In that first film, though, the scene in the bar where they're having a drink.
Yes.
I won't say too much in case somebody's not seen it, but
basically
it's just so cool.
Where the suit,
he just gets up and like locks the door, and it's like, okay.
So that's it there, The King's Man.
Okay, that's interesting.
And that's a 2021. So it is.
I had no idea about
that. I saw the trailer for. So it was. So I thought that was the one you were talking about, but yeah, the Kingsman, the first one I enjoyed. The second one, no so much.
Not seen that. I'd say this was the first time I've seen the Kingsman, first film, so just totally new to the whole ethos, of those films. So I suppose eventually might get around to watching the second one, but I tend to be very skeptical of sequels, even though there have been some massively successful ones that I stand behind. But overall, I'm kind of like, I get a bit like, so I sort of stick them on the back burner, really.
For your first scene that you mentioned there, when the pub scene, I like it because it's definitely United Kingdom. I mean, they have Guinness and and lagers, but when it does lock the doors and everything, manner maketh man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Archer Collin was talking about the Art Royal series. That's it there. I thought there was only about 13 in it. So as you can see, there is now there's now 17 books in the series. And as you can see, look, Drake's Drum, Fighting for the Crown, The Lion and the Unicorn, The Right of the Line. It's basically a lot of
ratings as well.
Parabellum, The Invincible, The Cruel Sea. It basically, there's a lot of play on British. Like you've got The Cruel Stars, The Cruel Sea was the movie, remember? Then you've got The Longest Day, you've got Fear God and Dread What, The Vanguard, The Small Colonial War, Savage War of Peace, Warspite, Trafalgar Gambit, Nelson Touch, stuff like that. So basically, it's a lot of British wording and within
the reference to British history, definitely.
Yes.
But I like the length of the books as well. It's like 13 hours on the audio.
13 hours. So even the later books, you're talking about 12 and a half hours, 13 hours, 13. Most of them are over 13 hours. I think there's one that's just 5 minutes shy of 13 hours. But and I really enjoy them. So that's why most of them are in my library, but the last 3 are in my wish list. 4 are in my wish list.
Yeah, I just need to finish off the Phoenix conspiracy that I'm reading at the moment. It's basically written by a kid. He was 18, 19 when he started, and you can definitely tell that his writing is, I wouldn't say immature when he starts, but it's maturing as the books come along.
Mm-hmm.
And although the story is the greatest, the world building, the universe building is really fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just found something else.
What's that?
That I had forgotten about, and it's called Oliver's Travels. It was a TV miniseries back.
Oliver's Travels, was that not
Alan Bates, and it was set in the Orkneys. And really fun. Not a sort of more of a romantic comedy type thing than a sort of action adventure, but it does have some good plot in it, and it's about a puzzle compiler and addict who goes to find the sort of Yoda of crossword puzzles that lives somewhere, and he goes on a sort of a quest to try to find him. Something like that. Bill Patterson is in it as well, Sinead Cusack. But
I recognize the name, but I don't think I've seen it.
It's superb. It was on PBS in the States when I was over there, and that's where I saw it. Yeah, and I was just blown away by it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I've just basically the Polstein universe. The Johnny Ringo's ones I've heard of, but I've not watched or read. The Empire Corps ones, I've got them. They are really good as well. And that is the Empire Corps I started on before I came across the Art Royal, and then I stopped the Empire Corps and got all the Art Royal. They were so good. But the ones I'm listening to just now, well, I'm actually in a break. I've got the first three. There's a fourth book of Dungeon Crawler Carol, which the Critical Drinker was a guest narrator in part of book 3.
Wow.
I was surprised when I was got to the Critical Drinker. But the book 4's due out. I'm waiting for my credit. I was going to buy an extra 3 credits because there's a few books I want, and I thought by the time I get round to them, although I'm starting traveling for work, so I'm getting more book time, I don't want to spend. I might as well just take my one a month. So Dungeon Crawler Carol book 4 is out shortly, but the other ones I've been reading, I'm just digging up my library. I'm waiting for book 4. I've got the Buck Rogers one to listen to, and here's that other one. I've got a couple of Blake 7. I'm reading.
Something I've been looking for when you said that is.
I'm listening. I'm reading this one at the moment.
What's it called? The Flash Gordon books. Raymond something. I've been keeping my eye out for them, but.
I've not actually seen any of them, but this is what I'm reading just now. Safe Point. Basically, it's an alien race are just taking people, but they've come to an agreement with the government that they need 13 people to play in this Citadel, a game, and the people who win the Citadel are in charge of it, and they're basically the top dogs of the universe. But people are actually forced to play it, and if they don't play it, then their civilization is classed as debris, which means anybody can come in and just wipe it away. So basically, they say, you're playing it or else we're going to destroy you. So they force them to play it. But they take people who get taken into the game are selected by the game. So one of the guys that's playing it is terminal cancer, so he's only got a short term to live. But he can go in. They go in for a set amount of time. They've got a spawn point or a save point, and his is the longest it's ever been for a human, 13 days. Whereas you've got people in it are in it for 6 hours. So every 6 hours they disappear and then come back, then disappear, then come back. So they could only have 6 hours in it, and then just basically once they're 6 hours done, they go back to their safe spot. But some of the early ones had been abducted by aliens, so they're already been playing it for years before the aliens approached Earth. So it's all to do with that. I've only read the first book. I've got the second book to start, and that's the Save Point. It's not as good as the Dungeon Crawler stuff, but it's a similar vein. So
I love the title of that, Dungeon Crawler. That sounds really cool.
Dungeon Crawler Carol is superb. The whole idea of it, that's in there. That's the Dungeon Crawler Carol book. So you've got Dungeon Crawler Carol, Carol's Doomsday Scenario, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, and that's where it's going to.
Oh, you know you're going to get banned off YouTube now because you mentioned the name of the book.
And then the next one is The Gate of the Feral Gods. So I'm looking forward to that one because the first three were superb. And if anybody likes a cat, there's a cat in it.
Oh,
Princess
yes,
Donut.
we're cat people here.
Yeah, Princess Donut gets brought in as a cat, and she basically gets to level up. And she becomes a player instead of a pet. But she's still got the cat traits all the way throughout. It's fun. It's definitely even Donut there. She's there. Princess Donut. She's a show cat. But I digress. I would definitely recommend Dungeon Crawler Carol.
Gosh, it's these things I've never heard of because it's just not my bag. I don't normally. It's just not enough time, really, in the day to get into everything. I'm not disinterested, but I'm just so fascinated to find these new things I've never heard of before.
That's why I got into the books, because I was driving. I was 2 hours a day driving. It was perfect for in the car when I'm driving. I was driving myself to and from work. And that's why I got into the audiobooks. But obviously, with the last year and a half, all working from home, minds have all piled up. Now I'm starting to go through them. I still go through them.
It's the same, but for me, it's when I'm at work and I'm drowning in spreadsheets and information and tons of stuff to just like enter this, do that, put this here. I used to just blast heavy metal music, Metallica, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath,
nice,
all of that stuff. But recently, I swapped to audiobooks instead, and it's kind of the same. It's background, and yes, I may not catch everything that's going on in the audiobook, but you can always just like rewind the chapter and like catch up on it again.
Yeah,
and I think I probably have every achievement there is in Audible because for those of you that love gaming, Audible has achievement. You listen for a book for 3 hours straight. You listen for a book during breakfast. You get not an award, but you get an achievement. It's kind of fun and cheesy that way, but I'm not using Audible for that. But for people that like to gamify their life, go for it.
Well, I must admit, I've been the same. I've been a member of Audible for 10 years.
Oh.
Well, 9.5, because I started in July 2012 was when I first joined Audible. And one book a month. One book a month. You can imagine how many books I've got piled up in my Audible library.
I have been circling around Audible for years, trying to sort of decide if I should take the plunge. And I always think, I'm not sure. But not that I don't like audiobooks. I do actually love them. But I'm very fussy on the reader. And I'm probably overly picky, maybe. But it's going to make or break it for me.
I will say, even though Game of Thrones is getting a lot of crap, it has forget his first name, Shepherd something. He's in Guinness Book of World Records for narrating the most different voices in a single audiobook series. It's something like 150 or whatever it is, and it's distinct, unique voices. He's very good at carrying that out. But you have Stephen Fry reading all of the Harry Potter books.
I love Stephen Fry. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with that. But I agree with you. One of my favorite books that I discovered, but it's not recently, it's about 5 years ago. It's the Andy Weir, The Martian, the film with
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon,
which we've seen, yeah.
Yeah, it's read by Will Wheaton. But
see, the thing is,
the original
Will
one was
Wheaton is a
read
bit
by
of
someone called R.C. Bray, and he does such an amazing job of really bringing the characters to life. Not just Mark Watney, the main guy, but all of the side characters as well. He really lifts it up.
See, Will Wheaton, I think as an actor, as a person, crap. But see, as a narrator, one of my favorite books became my favorite very, very, very quickly was Ready Player One. The movie, in comparison, is a big load of pish.
Yes, I've heard that.
The book, read by Will Wheaton, suits it because he seems to enjoy reading it because he's geeky enough, and he just seems to come across as if I enjoy this book, and the whole way he's reading it, it just suits it so well. The movie, they changed everything. As soon as I saw what they were doing with the movie, I'd said they were changing it, and I had a couple of discussions, shall we say, with a friend who loved the book as well. And he was saying, no, they're not going to change that. Yes, they are. They're not having this. They're not having that. They're not having this. They're not doing that. They're going to change it to this. Don't be silly. That means it's changing the whole book. And they changed the whole book.
And they went there. Yeah.
They went there, unfortunately, yeah. But I'm not dissing Will Wheaton as a good, geeky narrator around books. He's very, very good in The Martian. It just so happened that the first guy they chose to do it, called R.C. Bray, far superior. And if you had never heard his version, Will Wheaton's perfectly, absolutely, really top-notch, nothing to complain about.
Well, that's a first. That's a first. I didn't realize that I guess it's no surprise that he would have been narrating a lot of stuff, but I haven't heard anything that he's narrated. So I find that interesting that he's people are enjoying that element of his performance. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I was just laughing at Arthur Collins one. He started listening to audiobooks driving years ago, driving to Castle Rising in Norfolk, 3-hour plus drive, and he hasn't had the radio on since. Since I started listening to audiobooks, I've never had my radio on since. And in my old car, I had a 6 CD changer, and it wouldn't play from my phone. So basically, I just kept turning them all on to disc. And that. Prior to that, my car before that had a tape deck. And I used to go to the library and get the multi-tape books and listen to them and that. So I've been doing it since 86 in the car.
I will give this to Cam when it comes to Audible books or audiobooks, full stop. If you want one of those persons that have a menial job, you're just filling out papers, you know the numbers you need to press. Headset on, earphones in, just listen to it. Just
that's where mine started. That's where mine started. I was a data input operator, sitting there with an electro register, just checking and just doing that, and that's when it started. Headphones on, we personal Walkman, listening to Sharp, the books Sharp. Far superior than the TV show. But that's where I started, and it was the Sharp books, and I loved them. And that was a Walkman sitting doing data input. Yes, that was the way to do it.
I'm gonna give something, and I think I probably have mentioned this before, and I'm probably gonna get hit by chat about this, but back in the days when I was restudying, getting more of my IT degrees and certification and everything up, I used to do the night shift, just restocking shelves at supermarkets and everything.
Did that.
What I used to have was my iPhone 3, 2. I don't know. It was one of the really early versions. But I had a Bluetooth headset just like this. And I was just walking up and down the aisle, just restocking stuff. But what I was doing was not listening to audiobooks.
Yeah.
I was re-listening to Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek the original series. But because I couldn't see the screen, all I had was the audio to go by. And it was actually elevating. It was lifting it to new experience, because
I used to do that
audio.
with Blackadder and stuff like that, because it was so, the humour, although it was visual, it was so thingy. I got them for my Christmas, Bluetooth ones. I've got a set of Bluetooth ones, but mine were cheap. These were a gift from a friend who, I know they're not cheap. I started in that, my Bluetooth ones.
I definitely recommend get something like that.
When I'm
and
sitting
listen
around,
to your favorite TV show. Just listen.
when I'm sitting
Don't
around,
watch.
that is basically on, and I'm listening to audiobooks. So any chance I get, so if I'm out and about, which I don't normally do, I've got my headphones with me. So if I'm going somewhere and I'm going into town and walking through charity shops, I've got it on, and it's basically because I got a decent set of headphones. The old ones I had are so cheap, they used to hurt my ears. But
yeah,
that's what
I've not
buy the
delved
cheaper
into
ones.
I've not delved into the Bluetooth ones yet. I've had a look at them, but I tend to be a bit of a battery Nazi on my phone. I don't like anything that drains the battery down too much on my phone. Even though I've got one of those great big portable batteries, I'm still like too much of a
Yes.
and a battery Nazi. You know, I can't stand it when I see that battery going down quick like that.
That's my portable battery.
Yeah, that's about that. Yeah, I've got one about that. It's one of the Anker ones.
Still got a decent charge on it, not fully charged. But yeah, I keep that with me at all times. But I'm in my car, mine's always plugged in. They're sitting beside me at the moment. It's my phone's plugged in, so it is.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's charging up. Yeah.
So I've got my wee charger on all the time. So I have the wee. And basically, I like mine's fully charged as much as possible. Doesn't it bother me when it goes to below 20%, unless I'm about to go out. That's when my batteries are always with me and it's plugged in my pocket. I do not like so if it goes 20%, I'm in the house, not an issue, because I can just plug it in and stow it around while it's charging with my Bluetooth headphones on. But when I'm out and about, I do not like a low charge. So I've got multiple batteries. I've always got batteries in my car, my pocket, my jackets, just in case I'm out and it happens. So yeah, I'm terrible for that. Yeah. So let's catch up. Walt Wheaton is a good narrator. He definitely is.
I also used to listen to in the car, instead of listening to music or an audiobook story, I like to listen to plays. So back in the day, when I was in the US, you could get the BBC radio productions of Shakespearean plays that were the Kenneth Branagh Scooby Gang. So it was Judi Dench and Branagh and Emma Thompson and all them, and they were marvelous. I mean, I had a load of Shakespearean plays that they did, and those I used to absolutely get lost in those. You know, if I was driving, they really just made the journey so much more enjoyable. Yeah, and Archer has made a good point too about the great courses or listening to lectures.
Got them. Got loads of them. I'm just actually trying to dig them up and see what ones I've got, because I've got a few.
While you do that, this is USB battery. But
hang on, I need to see the screen a minute.
Four of them.
Yes, the solar.
Solar powered USB charger.
I want to get one of those.
Well.
Yeah.
I think
they are really nice to have
like
in a case
21 quid.
That's cheap as chips.
Yes.
Yeah. And it works well?
It charges my phone, my watch, and my Kindle 10 times without recharging.
Just from solar charging?
Just from solar. I just put it out on the balcony, flip it open, leave it out for the day. It's fully charged.
Yeah.
This is nice.
This is my books on my iTunes, right? So let's see. You've got the Harry Turtledorf stuff. That's their alternate history. So you've got the American Civil War. You've got the colonization ones, which is basically Second World War. We get invaded by aliens, so everybody has to join together. Let's see. You've got your Big Finish stuff. So it's a load of Doctor stuff there. More Big Finish stuff, as you can see. Got a load of that.
Books.
Brandon Sanderson. I have got a few of his series, but I'm not a big Brandon Sanderson fan.
Carl Sagan, Cosmos. Yeah. By the way, before you jump away, Carl Sagan's Cosmos, all of it is available on YouTube, and it has fantastic soundtrack.
Well, there you go.
14
and a half hour Audible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My other favorite thing to listen to is, as when you said that, Jim, it reminded me, is the early interviews with Bill Moyers talking to Joseph Campbell. Those are really wonderful, and they used to all be available on YouTube, and then the estate sort of cleansed YouTube, put everything behind a paywall or sort of a website, took everything off, but now they're putting them back on, but in just short snippets. But it's worth checking them out. They're really interesting as well. If you're into sort of myths and historical connections to myths and things like that, really interesting.
Well, there's one of the great courses, one I've got, How Great Science Fiction Works. It literally is a breakdown on how to write science fiction, how it's done very well. There is a bits and pieces here. John Scalzi is another good author I really like. The not the Ghost Brigade, it's what it is. Old Man's War is really good. Red Shirts is fantastic. If you're I would have recommended this to my father-in-law, but he doesn't swear, and there's a lot of swearing in it. But it's called Red Shirts for a reason. It's a more comical look at Star Trek Red Shirts. That these guys realise they're on a TV show, somebody's writing their lives because they're all dying in the most horrendous ways possible. But if you're one of the bridge crew, you'll be fine eventually. Even the guy who keeps on getting hurt every episode because he wears a red shirt as well, he always seems to come out of it by the next week. So they reckon that somebody's writing it, so they have to go into the past to find out who's writing past the second step. Because it's killing them all. So, John Scalzi.
I've probably recommended it before, but there is a game on Steam where you play not exactly a red shirt, but you are on definitely a Star Trek space station.
Yeah.
And you've been given the notice that this space station will have a catastrophic failure within X amount of days. And the only way to rescue yourself is to curry the favor with either the captains or someone with a guaranteed seat on one of the rescue boats. And you basically play it through making friends through Facebook. Not Facebook, but very similar to Facebook. So you have to get the likes, you have to garner friends and make them happy and do activities like that. It's not an action game. It's basically just a point and click, but it is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. See, some of the ones that I quite like, there's some of the books I read, the Peloponnesian War. So I've got a couple of those. Kim Stanley Robinson, the Red Mars, Green Mars, and Blue Mars books. They're actually they're not fantastic. I can't say they're the best books I've read, but they're actually still quite interesting. It's about colonisation of Mars.
I think something's happened to your audio, PJ.
Yeah, I
Sound
noticed
like
that as well.
underwater.
It's getting
What,
a bit sort of spongy.
Spongy.
It's a bit better now.
I think it's because I keep moving back and forward.
Whatever you did, just cleared it up.
Yeah, I think what it's happening is I'm moving backwards and forwards. So when it's turning my head or doing that, I'm not. I think that's what it is. So when I'm looking at the screen, I'm actually my mouth's moving away. But there's a Neil deGrasse Tyson. I've got bits and pieces. Piers Anthony I used to love Piers Anthony books. Can I find a lot of the Xanath range on Audible? And a lot. I've got them all on book format, but they're all on PDF. Which unfortunately I want to get a lot of the Piers Anthony stuff, the early books, up until the point where one of the books actually got so bad that I stopped buying them because they started going down silly naming convention. And I decided, no, don't go down that. And there's my Robert Jordan collection, which is on a hiatus at the moment because every time I listen to it, I think of the Pishy TV program.
Yeah, well, they can,
Do we really need to finish that?
Yeah.
Chuck the new stuff in the bin and enjoy your old stuff, PJ.
Yeah, the
definitely.
problem is because I've watched parts of it, it's one of those things when I hear the names of the characters,
yeah,
that just jumps in my head, and I can understand. I could never understand up until the point I started watching this why people says, "Oh, what was the child one? The Jodie Whittaker." Not the empty child, not the unearthly child.
the dumbass child.
That one, the one where basically suddenly the doctor wasn't a doctor; it was some cosmic kid that kept getting. And I was sitting there thinking, how could that stop you watching everything? Because I've heard people saying that I've given up, get rid of all my Doctor Who stuff, all my classic stuff, all my new stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, how can a TV show? Because I watched up for so much, and I thought, nope, doesn't work for me, so I'm just stopping there. And I'll watch things before that. After that, I don't care. I thought, how can things like that stop you enjoying classic stuff, older stuff? I could never understand it until I started watching The Wheel of Time. And because it was so bad, it literally put a bad taste in my mouth every time I was listening to the audiobooks. Or every time I saw the books, anytime one of the characters was on the book, I thought, every time I hear that name or see that character, I think of that Pishy TV show, which I'm only on episode 5 and I've not watched episode 5. So I've only watched up to episode 4 because even when I was ill, I didn't want to make myself sicker. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but as you can imagine, I've got a load of Audibles, both on my iTunes and my Audible, because I've been reading it for years. And as the like Modern Scholars, great courses, I've got a load of that stuff as well. I do like a load of Napoleonic, Peloponnesian, Greek wars, things like that. So I do that. That's why
it's nice because it just depends upon what mood you're in, isn't it? And then you just sort of
what you want to listen to.
Yeah.
So yeah, listening to a lecture in the car as well. Sometimes I do that, or sometimes it's just when I'm sitting about and I've got other things to do. Listening to a lecture is ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I would listen to them, while I'm cleaning or something, because that's good time that you lose, being able to listen to some or watch something, but to be able to just listen to whatever on Audible, while I'm cleaning or just, doing stuff around the house, then at least I feel like I'm getting something out of it.
Yeah. I would say
Cam-Cam's problem is a good problem to have.
See, that happens in work sometimes when I'm through at lunch. If I've not got my headphones on, I will listen to a YouTube. I'll sit and watch YouTube with my headphones off, and people will just give me some strange thing because I could be watching Erotic, the Friday Night Tights, maybe
Yeah.
a Wednesday or something like that, or I could be watching Cockney Spock or Daniel. There's a load of stuff that I could be watching, and people just sort of, what the? You could just see it in their face. They don't even need to ask the question. You can just see it in their face. What the feck are you listening to? Because all this stuff that's coming about, sometimes they're swearing about stuff, sometimes they're giving really good stuff, info about certain programs.
I had a delivery 2.5 weeks ago, and it was Daniel doing the fandom, the right of the fandom to actually criticize.
Yes,
that was the topic about. And I had an Amazon delivery, and I just jumped up. I didn't pause, so I just jumped up, got the delivery, and the delivery guy said, "But I recognize that guy."
Ooh.
This is like nice.
Really?
Well
That's
done,
cool.
Daniel. This is like
nice one.
have delivery fans. So that was actually quite surprising.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Superb.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it was a surprise as well. When you go and it's like, oh, cool. I'm not the only one listening to this. And you sometimes feel like it, even though you see like there's like 50 likes and whatnot, and you're going, okay, it's 10%.
Kind of brings it home. Yeah, exactly.
I've not read all the Incantation series. I've read the first 3. Incantation of Immortality series is really good for Piers Anthony stuff. His earlier stuff, the Xanath ones, started as teenagers, late teens, because it was the magic, the sorcery and stuff like that. And then they started getting dead young. She was aiming to a younger audience, whereas the Incantation of Immortality and stuff like that, the books were better. I did enjoy the first 3. I've just typical other things come in and they just slot in, which pushes them back. So I've still got them to read. Yeah, that's it. The Timeless Child, or the Timless Child, we'll call it. But that was the one. I could never understand why when somebody watched that, they stopped watching Doctor Who completely until a Wheel of Time started. And then I could understand it. And yeah, I was a big Doctor Who
Wheel of
fan.
Time has definitely removed me completely. I will not even touch the Lord of the Rings that is coming up.
No, see, the problem is as well, I was never a great fan of Lord of the Rings, so it didn't bother me. The movies, I could watch the movies, enjoy them, but the bits where they were dead slow, I could skip quite the thing. Didn't care if I missed bits and pieces because they never bothered me that much. And then what the Hobbit, same idea. But because I was a big fan of the books, The Wheel of Time, and the complete. See, the thing is, I've been saying from day one, they've changed so much of it. Instead of saying it is an adaptation of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, the best thing they could have done is they could have said inspired by Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time.
Or ideas from.
No, but just inspired by, so they could still have the one power, they could still have the Aes Sedai, they could still have, they just didn't need to have any of the characters. They could have referred to them as in a previous age. And then just, it's another turning of the wheel, so things have changed. And then, and other things have changed because of that. So they could have done all that, but no, they decided to go down the route of taking the story and then completely trashing it. An attempt was made.
Sorry, a small coughing fit there, but no, I agree completely with you. They could have completely baked in all the woke culture they wanted. Just say, oh, it's a new turning of the wheel, it's a new turning of the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they could have done. They could have done that and had everything the story the way it is, just with different characters, names and stuff like that, but they didn't. They wanted to destroy anything that was there. And they brought it in to destroy it. The simple fact is, whoever's done this is effectively says, we want your books, no to adapt them. We just want to take them and actually, because we can write better than you. So effectively, they've turned around and says Robert Jordan's books are crap, and we're going to make them better. That's all they've done by making them crap. They've basically taken a really good book series.
But I've read, and I'm not sure if it was from Bounding into Comics or whatever it was. The major excuse they had is, the book is too big, but we're going to take 3 books, which is absolute nonsense because I've seen the entire episode 1 now. It's only book 1. There is nothing from any other books. And they took time out to dedicate 2 episodes to something that was not in the book whatsoever.
Exactly.
So they did not use the book at all.
Yeah. Exactly. The fact that they've taken stuff and just changed everything, it's just, it just gets me annoyed every single time. Yep. Daniel's the man, definitely.
Yes.
Daniel's the man. He's Scottish. Of course he's the man.
The legend.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
I've not read the Satan one, I must admit, so that is still on my list. I might actually bring them forward again once I've finished the Carol books and the Save Point books and the rest of the Art Royal books. And anyway, we'll get there.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, reimagined. If they reimagined it to the point where they've destroyed it.
Yeah, that's it. It just becomes a platform instead of a piece of creative entertainment,
Right. See, the thing is, right.
It can be done, but it just has to be done very, very well.
See, the thing is, right. That book series didn't need to be changed to make it woke, because it was a matriarchal society.
Yeah, exactly.
You had men there, and you had most of the people in the top, with an exception, were females. But the ones pulling the strings in the back, most of them were females. Some of the best characters were the females. Some of the best evil characters were the females. However, they didn't get to be the best characters by destroying the male characters. They got them by working together with the male characters, just being completely different. One of my favourite characters was just a character that came in later on, Birgitta. Loved the Birgitta character.
Mm.
She was one from the who got called by the Horn of Valere and accidentally got brought out of Tel'Aran'rhiod. I keep on getting that pronunciation wrong. Basically, the world of dreams. She got dragged out by accident, but she was still a really good character. Most of the female characters were really good. There was 1 or 2 I hated. Can't deny it. I disliked 1 or 2 of the female characters because I think there was certain aspects of it that Robert Jordan tried to. It was typical. He took certain characteristics, male or female, and sort of applied them to make that person not a very good person by enhancing how they dealt. So certain male characters were overly aggressive towards the females because he would take that characteristic and enhance it. But you also had certain females who were manipulative. He would enhance that to make them not a nice character because he took the bad parts and enhanced it to make them worse than they were. But that was just the part. But Belaine, I hated because she was so, I'm a woman and I've got a beautiful body. Everybody has to love me. And it's a case of, even with the people who were the good characters, instead of turning around and saying, no, go away. It was, excuse, just because we don't want to hurt your feelings. And it was almost played too much into it. And I disliked certain characters. But there was so many fantastic male and female characters in that book. It's a matriarchal society. The majority of the people with the power are the females. And it's controlled by that. Even the ones behind the males, the wives, the mistresses or whatever, were the ones that were still manipulating it to get what they wanted. So it was done so well that it didn't drag down the male characters to put the females on the pedestal, and it didn't drag down the female characters to put the males on the pedestal. They were just different types of characters, and they all worked together.
But that's the flaw they've done with this team. They gone with Egwene straight out of the gate. She's level 100 superpower magician, druid, knight. Mm-hmm. She has no room to develop at all. She's perfect. She's not perfect. She's flawless. She can do nothing wrong. And that's how they started her out. Whereas in the book, she's stumbling. She's a quick study. She learns things like that in the book. She's super smart. She's intelligent. She's creative. She's got all of that. But she has to learn the steps as she goes along. Whereas in the TV show, straight from episode 1, she's flawless.
Yep.
There's nothing
Nynaeve is going to be the Dragon Reborn. I've been saying it from very early on. Nynaeve is the Dragon Reborn. In the book, you can't have a female as a Dragon Reborn because the Dragon Reborn.
No spoilers given here, but you will be surprised who is actually fighting Shaitan.
I wouldn't be.
But you will be. It even shocked me.
Yeah, still, I'll be surprised. It would have to be a male and have to be really good at it, and that's not going to happen. So anyway, we're not anywhere near there. But in the books, they've got it so well done. Yeah, it's just, but my books are all away. My shelf has been cleared, and I brought all them out front and center because of that. And as soon as I watched the first episode, away they went. Nope, don't want to see them. And
my books from Audible, I had them all.
I've got them all.
I just deleted them from my download cache. I don't want to go back to it.
Well, they were on my thing, man. I've got them on Audible. And they're gone. I've got them in my iTunes. I've got both copies, one in iTunes and one in Audible. And it's just literally, it's on my iTunes. It's my Audible downloaded onto it because you can link the accounts. But the fact is, I don't care. I've not deleted them from my iTunes. I've just don't even with them now.
Yeah, I'm kind of regretting that because I have a feeling now that.
And I will read the Incantations of Immortality in order.
She's now narrating the Audible audiobooks. So I have a feeling they're going to remove the old ones, which was read by one man and one woman, and they were narrating each section. I wouldn't say characters. Sections.
No, they were doing sections.
They were actually needed. They narrated that themselves. It was either a man reading it or a woman reading it.
Well, that's another thing.
Nature.
Have you seen the difference between the first books? The first book, I'll need to dig that up again because I've got it sitting there. Library. The difference in the time, Wheel of Time books. Right, so the one read, narrated by, no, it's Lewis, Robert Jordan, Eye of the World, right? Book 1, read, narrated by Kate Redding and Michael Kramer. 29 hours, 57 minutes. So 3 minutes short or 30 hours, right? So where's the new one with the Wheel of the Dragon Reborn? That's not. There it's there. The Eye of the World, read by Rosamund Pike. 32 hours, 55 minutes. 3 hours off of 33 hours. So that's 3 hours extra.
Yeah. And I will say this, having listened to the audiobook many times.
Reading so slowly that it's added the 3 hours. And that's assuming she's not narrating it slower. So it's just added 3 hours on.
10%.
10% of the whole runtime. she's not added an extra 10% just by the speed she's reading. I'm assuming it's added things. So they've added stuff from the TV show and they've changed things around. I wouldn't even purchase that. I wouldn't even take it for free, just in case. However, if they're doing that already, you look at
well, if one from the chat is willing to take the bullet and like jump across.
But the whole book series is read. It's not narrated by one person. It's narrated by two, Kate Redding and Michael Kramer, from the very beginning right through until even the prequel is read by them, and right through the whole series is read by them. So you've got the same two people narrating every single book, yet they're so well narrated. It's fantastic, because any parts that are a female dominated chapter, Kate Redding reads it. If it's a male dominated part, it's Michael Kramer. The thing is, even if there's feminine parts in it, even if it's a majority dominated by the male aspect of it, it's read by each of them. So you'll have the female reading some of the male dominated parts because it's in a chapter which is mainly female.
Transitional areas.
Exactly. They do it so well. It's absolutely amazing. However, they're now going to actually they've changed it. 3 hours difference in length. How much have they added in from that pish TV show? And yes, you used to get strong female characters. Now you get weak male characters. It's not. Don't make the women stronger. They make the men weaker.
Yeah, which that was that abomination of War of the Worlds as well.
Yeah,
that absolute abomination.
Yep, and episode 1 of season 4 of Cobra Kai, I knew what was going to happen from the very first.
I bet you do not.
I knew what was going to happen. Only in one episode. I've only watched episode 1 of season 4. I knew what was going to happen.
Really?
They looked around as if they sort of played around the part. Have you watched it?
I've seen it all,
no,
and
we can't. We haven't.
By the ending.
Right. I managed to get a copy of it. Not a great copy, but it did the job. There is one fight sequence. I'm only going to mention the one fight sequence. Where there's the guy who, by the sound of it, was in a dojo and he's come over to fight his father's dojo. Whatever. Anyway, he's meant to be so good that none of the other ones from the Cobra Kai dojo could touch him. So he says, if any of you can hit me, I'll leave. So everyone goes at him and he knocks him down. Even the girl has a go at him. He doesn't hit her, but throws her a few times. And when he leans down to give her a hand up, she spins around and kicks him in the face. And I knew that was going to happen. The one person that could get him would have been the female. Even though it looked as if it was going that way, that all the guys he was knocking around and the girl, he was throwing around. It wasn't hitting her, but he was still throwing her. So, because you can't have a guy hitting a girl, even if the circumstances they're fighting.
No, but you do have this in the old Karate Kid films, even Karate Kid 4 or whatever it is. But I'm going to say this: Deadpool. I did not see the ending coming. I was with you. I was going, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, it's going to be in this order, it's going to be that. And I was 99% right all the way through until the ending. And it literally did a crane kick to my face, to my forehead.
I'll need to watch that stream.
I turned the camera off, by the way, so I'm not showing off facial expressions. That's literally what the camera is off. Because I've seen it, and I do not want to spoil it even by giving away even the smallest, like tiniest dimple.
I'm going to have to say goodnight, I think, everybody, because
I've got work in the morning as well, so I'll not be alone for much longer. But thank you, Enology. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for
so much.
keeping this. So it's always ideal. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. And likewise, we sort of make a good team.
Yes, we definitely do. We've still got to work out what movie for Saturday.
Yes.
Well, I did share a link with you guys.
We've not had a chance to look at it. We'll look at it. I'll look at it.
I'll have a look after. Yeah.
Yeah. Please send the link the last time, and I couldn't access it.
Let me know if there's an issue. I'll try and figure it out. Just ping.
Yeah, I think what you have to do is share it with if you're using the Google one, you have to share it with our Gmail account addresses. So that's easy. I can send you my info if that's the case. It's not an issue.
Yep, likewise.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. But it should be
cool.
Definitely.
All right. Cam. Thanks, Wendy. Take it easy and have a great rest. Yeah, thanks very much, Cam. It's bedtime here for us now. I'm going to feed the wee beasties here before we get eaten alive, because I've got a herd of cats here looking at me very hungrily. So they're ready for their nighttime snack. Spoiled.
It sounds like a Doctor Who horror film.
Yep.
And but thanks everybody that joined us in the chat as well. And take care, and we'll catch you on Saturday. Hope you can make it with us.
Definitely.
Right, take care.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yep. And as someone pointed out, though, the original film Daniel won by using an illegal move. Yes, accordingly, they're not allowed to actually do head kicks. And that's what he did.
It used to be, but then this was literally at the blend era when they started getting the mixed martial arts in. So you were allowed to go all out. So what's it called? No barrels, or whatever the actual American expression is. So it was literally on the balancing sequence of that. But yeah, he did defeat him, didn't he?
Yeah, but he defeated him by a legal move, which should have been disqualified. So
again, I'm happy that the camera is turned off, and I see that we have the lovely bots coming back again.
Yeah, I'm just blocking them just now. It's the same. It's the same one. Just keeps going out, changing his info, and then coming straight back in.
Yeah,
it just keeps on giving us
extra clicks. I'm looking forward to hearing the stats later on. Archer, yes, you are correct. I believe it was literally within months. So the film came out. They've already done the productions, obviously here 2 years in advance of the film really coming out, where this was not a legal move, but they may or may not have had knowledge that, okay, people are going to watch this. This is now going to be a legal move. So they may have balanced that. But then again, we're coming down to like the very technical levels, because
yes, I know, but in the movie, it basically is right. It was an illegal move in the movie, and then they win by it, which it doesn't matter within the movie if they state something and then they ignore it. It sort of invalidates the movie. It's the same as in a book. It's like turning around Doctor Who. Daleks can't climb stairs. We shall be saving the second story, and then a Dalek climbs the stairs. People say, well, that invalidates it, but of course they could climb stairs because they had to build multi-story ramps. So do you think, they get defeated because people could stand on a rock and they couldn't get up? There's going to be ways around it. But there was silly things like that. There was always bits like that. But
if you're going on standing on the rock,
it's like turning around and saying that a sci-fi program.
Yep.
The X monster cannot touch water. Let's say signs, right? And then they invade a planet which is mostly made up of water, and even the air has got water molecules in it. It makes the whole movie stupid. So if you've got a rule, and then to win, you have to break that rule, and then it's actually classed as it's fine. Then it's silly.
There is a little bit in there, the suspension of, what is it, disbelief or belief, whatever it's called. It is okay.
Suspension of disbelief.
If aliens attack Earth and they are allergic to water, well, hang on, most of our air
is made of
water.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. And so it never rained. So
exactly. I mean? But a little bit of the suspension of belief, because obviously
the thing is,
science fiction.
Things have to enjoy a movie. Doesn't matter what movie, be it a martial arts movie, a sci-fi movie, a fantasy movie, a historical movie. There's a suspension of disbelief. However, internal consistency still needs to count. So if you say Monster X cannot do this, and then it wins by doing that, then your internal consistency is invalid.
Yeah, and I don't care about the finite thing. It's just like, okay, take Avatar. You've seen Avatar, yes?
Yes.
So you know the guy with the scar across his face, Stephen Lang.
Uh-huh.
The sergeant.
Yes.
The atmosphere is toxic. He cannot really be out there for long without suffering troubles. But at the sequence where they're flying out of the hangar and everything, he doesn't have the time to put on the gas mask to protect himself. He just goes out and fires. But they actually show he paid a price.
Because there was a consistency. It wasn't a case of as soon as you go out there, you die. But he was out there and he was surviving. That's what I'm saying. So,
but not for too long. He did have to have that rescue, and that is what they do so well with that game rule within the universe on planet Pandora.
Yes, but the problem they had was the other rules that to be intimate, the two of them would touch their tails, their hairs. Then to control an animal, they would do the same thing. So,
I'm just gonna go with it might have been George Carlin or someone else really clever. And this is a bit of an atheist joke-ish, and I will butcher it, but it is: if God was such a perfect architect, why did he put the amusement park next to the sewer pipe?
Sewage pipe. Why?
Yeah, the sewage pipe. Yes.
Yeah. It's the same idea. Basically, when somebody says, what was God? And somebody says he was a civil engineer. Somebody says he was a non-electrical engineer. There's three engineers. They try to explain. He says, well, the first engineer, he built it this way. The second engineer, he built it that way. And the third one says, the civil engineer. He says, how do you know he's a civil engineer? He says, because only a civil engineer would run a waste pipe through the middle of a recreational area. And it's the same idea. It's that joke. Yeah. It's basically, but yeah, it's when they actually do things like that, which are inconsistent within the narrative. It looks silly, and it makes the rest of it takes you out of the movie. So, as I said, if a Dalek can't do this, and then it suddenly does, takes you out of the movie.
It does, because they're scary, but where you start to climb up on like the ladder of hope, because a good scary character don't know how to defeat them. They're very dangerous. They mean to hurt you, but you suddenly discover, oh, hey, they can't do this. And then suddenly, a couple of years later, or woke culture, oh, yeah, they can do this. Don't worry. You just go, it's like, no. they were dangerous. You needed this. It made the perfect. I don't know how young our audience is that is still hanging around, but we used to have like the floor is lava, and you used to take like the seat
Have you
cushions
seen
of the
Community?
chair and everything. It used
Have
to
you
jump
seen
around.
Community? Have you seen Community? There's
A
a
couple of
episode
episodes.
called Lava, and basically, yeah, it's a superb. I'd never played Lava in my life, but I know the principles of it. And if you've seen Community, you know exactly how it works.
Exactly. It was like the simplest rules. No touch the floor, but you need to run around, you need to flee. Basically tag or whatever is called in every different culture. But you could not touch the floor because that meant immediate.
Yeah, see, us Scots, we don't call it tag. We call it TIG.
Of course you do.
Yeah, because TIG, you're it. Not tag, it's TIG. 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 So TIG, you're it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll say
There it's
us Scandinavians.
It's a mechanical engineer because of the bones and muscles, electric engineer because of the brains and nervous system, and a civil engineer because he ran the waste pipe through the middle of a recreational area. Yeah, thank you. I knew something.
Well, the British call. I was going to say before, but that was a very good comment, Colin. Take tag. You can keep it. We called it cull. As in culling the herd.
Yeah.
If you were tagged, you were out of the herd.
Well, see, we have a similar idea up here. We played TIG, and if you get caught, everybody was a cull. No, it was slightly spelled different. It was, I'm sure there was a T in there. But that's a different thing.
Yeah, it might be.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for an enjoyable discussion. We were planning to actually talk about maybe Cobra Kai or stuff like that. I hadn't watched that. I only watched that one episode because we were going to discuss it. But truthfully, I think the way the book it went, talking about books and different things, TV shows, for the start of the new year, I think it's definitely the way to go. So thank you one and all for joining us. And Colin, Jim has got the link you sent, and he'll send it to me so I can have a look at that stream. And I'll definitely have a look at that tomorrow, but it's going to be off to bedtime shortly because work in the morning, I need to go to work. Oh, and how many days? 5 days, and still not had a cigarette. Yeehaw! I stopped for the new year, and I've not even been bothered. Been driving, I've been sitting about, and it's not even fazed me.
I'm very impressed by that. I've been trying myself. I have significantly reduced it, but I still have the cravings.
Yeah, no, see, basically because I've got one of those foibles that if I don't want to stop, even if I keep on saying I do, I'll find an excuse to have a cigarette because I don't want to stop, but because my daughter's pregnant and I want to make sure there's no smoke around at all for whenever I decided, new year, I'm going to stop. So I had my last cigarette before I went to my bed. Cigarettes were gone. And I woke up 1st of January and I've not had a cigarette. I've not even been tempted by a cigarette. Not even a little bit. And I've been smoking for a good number of years. Before the grey was there, I've been smoking. Let's put it that way. And I've managed to do well. So I'm happy. And I'm going to stay that way.
I'm definitely here for you. I will definitely support you and say, don't. Reach out to me on any channel you can. I will tell you, do not.
For when the baby's born.
You're going to be so screwed. Sorry, I believe in you. That was what I meant to say.
These have been kept special. King Edwards. King Edwards.
Right over there, and I know the camera can't see it, I did get myself a cigar for the New Year's Eve because, yay, Another year, fantastic. I haven't even opened it.
Yeah, well, they're sitting there. I've had them for a wee while, and I will give them out. I won't have one myself. So
That's a good strategy.
I'll keep one and get it posted down to you. You have one of the King Edwards when the baby's born. Don't you worry. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much, Colin, for I'm going to keep it up, and we will look forward to Saturday. We will post out on Twitter or Getter, is it?
I have not joined that yet.
I have. What's it called? Getter. Gettr. I am on there. PJ maybe. Look me up. I'll keep posted on that because I think. See, I'm on Gab as well, and I'm on Minds. I'm on Odyssey as well, but I don't really post a lot on Odyssey because we do a lot more live rather than thingy, but I do post in them all. So we will post on Twitter, Gab, and on Getter what the movie's going to be before Saturday, so we can actually all enjoy.
We just need to decide which one it is.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So, but we need to let people know so they can actually get ahead of the game as well.
Oh, you're trying to make us sound like we're a proper organized team, like 10 people standing behind the cameras. Yeah.
I'm talking about our chat because they keep us
our
straight.
chat is amazing as always.
I don't think you can get chocolate cigarettes or cigars. You used to be able to buy the tobacco.
Oh, they've been banned for like 2 decades.
Yeah, but
now.
they're not chocolate. They're just the candy sticks, they're called, but they've changed their name. They're not cigarettes. They're chalk. They call them chalk sticks now. They're not cigarettes.
Oh, I don't think you can get them either. The last one I managed to get hold of was chewing gum.
No, you can get the ones that are in the wee box, but they now call them chalk sticks. So because they're white candy, they call them chalk sticks. Literally, that's what they've changed them to. I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Can't remember. Oh, they used to be able to get candy tobacco.
Oh yes, the lid you screwed up and you just.
And it's basically, it came out like tobacco, but it was almost like a honey on it.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it was delicious. I used to have them.
But to be honest, I didn't have the chocolate cigarette stick to think I was smoking. I was like, oh, cool, chocolate. I never did like my mum and dad. I know. It was like unwrapped chocolate.
The candy sticks, the white ones, I used to go. So it started off going like that, but as soon as it touched the lips,
exactly.
But no, I was always the same, Cam. Basically, I was forever saying, going to give up. No, because I was enjoying it. But I've got one of those ones. I need to actually know in there that I'm stopping. And as soon as I get the idea, that's it. And I think I'm doing okay for 5 days. Not that I'm counting, but for 5 days.
Well, you passed the hump because it takes 3 days to change a habit.
Yep.
And the motion I was doing, I was crossing my fingers, but in Scandinavia, you hold your thumbs to wish someone luck. Because you don't punch someone's face with the thumbs inside, you have the thumbs outside. So holding your thumbs is wishing someone luck on the penalty of breaking your own wrist.
Yeah. But see, to me, that's no smoke. If you've never smoked, it's great. You've saved an absolute fortune because a packet of cigarettes is a tenner now. So far, 5 days, I've saved myself £50.
Oh, when I started, a pack of cigarettes was what, £2?
Aye, if that, we used to buy cigarettes on the way to school. So we would buy a single, and a single was 10p. Or if we were really, really well off, 4 of us would, or 3 of us, or 4 of us would get together. Or actually, 5 of us would be better, because it was 10 pence each, and you would get 2 fags for 10 pence instead of 1. Woo! Or if we were really well done, we would buy 20 fags and we would get 4 fags each for 15 pence.
Let's just admit we're classic enough to be of the age where there was no health and safety.
Yeah. Colin, definitely. That way, give us a follow, and that way we've got a way of getting in contact without having to actually pray that somebody's actually, I know, I'm knowing the stuff. There's certain ones I should be on as well. Right. See, that's the thing. I had to think of the suitable substitute. I did stop smoking when my kids were small, but it was a case of I would outside having a cigarette and then so there was no smell of it. So, and I would smoke when I was at work, but never smoked around the kids. But it's just getting into that habit. we do, even when we were young, we would do that. You would be sitting there, hold a pen in the mouth, but you're still holding it as if it's a cigarette.
But if that would be accurate, and I know this is extending the show a couple more minutes, but how many times when you were at school, didn't you just go like, oh, scribble this, pen in mouth, I have to flip the pages. It's like, obviously for anyone under my age, you didn't have a pen. You just went click, click, click on the keyboard. But I was one of the last generation. Even though computers were available, we were never allowed. My generation was not allowed by government mandate to print out a report on the computer. We had to handwrite everything. But who was the school calling in to fix the computers?
I just to do that. Well, I didn't actually go to fix the computers, but when I went to college to do my communications module as day release, I had to set up all the modems so I could show them I could connect via a modem. But the fact is, I had to set up the modem and show them how to work them before I could go, click, I'm connected now. Okay, pass. That's how bad it was.
My school had welding. They were not exactly RAM, but the resistors function as a RAM module. I was welding with like builder, like construction sites, welding TIG welding equipment, resistors onto the computer servers in my school by the time I was 10, because I was the only one that knew how to fix it without them having to have downtime for 4 weeks because they needed to call in a professional.
Well, see, I can only say when I was leaving school, so I was 15 going on to 16, that's when they brought the BBC micros into our school. So when I left school, they'd been in it for less than a year. So, age boy. When the ZX81 came out, I was already left school. I was 16.
Yeah, I was still in school by then.
One of my friends who is a multi-Microsoft award. He's got every Microsoft qualification except one. And the reason he doesn't have that is because it's something like 30 grand for it, and you have to pay to stay there as well. So just for the qualification, something like 30 grand. So that's the only qualification he got. He's got Microsoft across the board. He's done a load, and he was born after the home computer came out. So he was born after I had my first computer at home, the ZX81. So by the time he was born, I'd moved on to the ZX Spectrum.
I have a problem these days, and my company obviously they like, it's like, oh, train this, learn this, develop this, get this certification. But every time they give me an offer, go and do this certification, I'm just going, are you telling me you're gonna send me off for 2 weeks to sit in a chair and sleep until the final hour where the exam is? Because I already know all of these things.
Yeah, I know. As I said, when I was doing the communication, I actually was doing dailies, and I had to go and set up their systems so I could show them that I knew how to use their systems. Nuts. But yeah, it's the school computers, sheer luxury when I was a lad.
Yeah, Colin, but when I was a lad, it was tick, 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 tick. That's how you've written your exam.
I'm saying nothing. However, one of the first school computers I used was punch card.
Oh,
was a punch card system, and a Unix system was one of the first networked computers, and it couldn't handle any more than 8 people networked at the same time, because it used to drag it down to the point it would completely crash. And somebody accidentally put, as they turned around, they were sitting right next to the box, and their knee hit the off button, and they had to sit like that without their knee moving so everybody could save their work. And it took 20 minutes for 8 people to save their work, because once the button was pressed in, it would stay on until you released it.
Yep.
There isn't any on off, and as long as you press it for 20 seconds, it will stay on. This one was somebody tapped it and he had to keep his knee against it. He couldn't actually even put his finger there because his knee was covering the button. So if he took his knee away, even to try and put his finger in, the button was coming out.
The connector. But I think Archer is winning his latest comment in terms of who went to school the oldest. A little bit later down.
Yeah, well, see the 128. I had the 1648 Spectrum.
There we go.
Well, see, I can only say my father's first picture is still actually drawn in the cave. I used to slag him about that. He'd say, I've got my school picture. I says, how? Is you still on part of the cave? But yes, definitely that one works.
All I can counter with is, okay, I wasn't dinosaur old, but my grandfather was born in the 1700s.
Yeah.
The main line has had a weird, well, the part I know, and it goes back about 1400, has had an extreme longevity.
Well, my mum's side, my mum was 84 when she passed. Her mum was 97 when she passed, and her mum was 102 when she passed. And I'm sure my mum says her great granny was in her 90s as well. So that was 4 generations, 400 years. But, well, 380, 308 years. But basically, there was something along that, and that was just 4 generations going back that big and along. And I was, whoa. But, yeah. Anyway, better go, because it's just after 11 and I'm going to get ready for my kip because I'm working in the morning. I need to get up early because I'm driving instead of working.
You poor thing. All I have to do is take 10 steps from my bed to this chair and I'm at work.
See, normally on a Thursday, I would work from home, but this 3 days they've asked me to come in just to make sure.
You stay safe, and the same goes to you, chat. You stay safe. We know there's a lot of trouble. Thank you very much. But stay safe, stay healthy, and a very happy 2022 to everybody.
Yes, definitely have a happy new year. Can't be worse than last year or the year before, but Always remember, ladies and gents, I ain't old, I'm classic. PJ Maybe